Lexicon by Max Berry. Every story written is marks upon a page, the same marks repeated, only differently arranged. Poets 1. Now when Ra, the greatest of the gods, was created, his father had given him a secret name so awful that no man dared to seek for it, and so pregnant with power that all other gods desired to know and possess it too. F. H. Brooksbank, The Story of Ra and Isis. 1. He's coming around. Their eyes always do that. The world was blurry. There was a pressure in his right eye. He said, "Irk, F. It's too late, forget it, take it out." "It's not too late, hold him." A shape grew in his vision. He smelled alcohol and stale urine. "Will, can you hear me?" He reached for his face to brush away whatever was pressing there. Get his fingers closed around his wrist. "Will, it's important that you not touch your face." Why is he conscious? "I don't know. You effed something up." "I didn't, give me that." A rustling. He said, Stop moving." He felt breath in his air, hot and intimate. "There is a needle in your eyeball. Do not move." He did not move. Something trilled, something electronic. "Ah, crap. What?" "They're here. Already? 2 of them, it says. We have to go." "I'm already in. You can't do it while he's conscious. You'll fry his brain." "I probably won't." He said, "Please do not kill me." An unsnapping of clasps. "I'm doing it." "You can't do it while he's conscious, and we're out of time, and he probably isn't even the guy." "If you're not helping, move out of the way." Will said, "I need to sneeze." Sneezing would be a bad move at this point, Will. Weight descended on his chest. His vision darkened. His eyeball moved slightly. "This may hurt." A snick. A low electronic whine, a rail spike, drove into his brain. He screamed, "You're toasting him." "You're okay, Will, you're okay. He's bleeding from his eye." "Will, I need you to answer a few questions. It's important that you answer truthfully. Do you understand?" No. First question, would you describe yourself as more of a dog person or a cat person? What? Come on, Will, dog or cat? "I can't read this. This is why we don't do it when they're conscious." "Answer the question. The pain stops when you answer the questions." "Dog!" he screamed. "Dog, please, dog." "Was that dog?" "Yeah, he tried to say dog." "Good, very good. 1 down." "What's your favorite color?" Something chimed. "F, oh F me." "What?" "Wolf's here." "That can't be right. It says right F in here." "Show me." "Blue," he screamed into the silence. He responded, "You see?" "Yes, I saw. Who cares? We have to leave. We have to leave." "Will, I want you to think of a number between 1 and 100. "Oh, any number you like. Go on." "I don't know." "Concentrate, Will. Wolf is coming and you're D'ing around with a live probe on the wrong guy. Think about what you're doing." 4. I choose 4. 4. I saw it. "That's good, Will. Only 2 questions left. Do you love your family?" Yes, no, what kind of a question is a... He's all over the place. "I don't have... I guess, yes, I mean, yes, everybody loves... Wait, okay, I see it." "That's weird." "One more question. Why did you do it?" "What? I don't... Simple question, Will. Why'd you do it?" "Do what? Do what? Do what? Borderline, as in borderline, on about 8 different segments, I'd be guessing." "I don't know what you mean. I didn't do anything. I swear I've never done anything to anyone except... I once knew a girl. There." "Yeah, okay." A hand closed over his mouth. The pressure in his eyeball intensified, became a suckling. They were pulling out his eyeball. No, it was the needle, withdrawing. He shrieked, possibly. Then the pain was gone. Hands pulled him upward. He couldn't see. He wet for his poor, abused eyeball, but it was still there. It was there. Blurry shapes loomed in fog. "What?" Will said. "Coarg medicity nigten commence," said the taller shape. "Hop on 1 foot." Will squinted, confused. "Huh?" said the shorter shape. "Maybe it is him." They filled a sink with water and pushed his face into it. He surfaced, gasping. Don't soak his clothes, said the tall man. He was in a restroom, an airport. He had come off the 3:05 p.m. from Chicago where the aisle seat had been occupied by a large man in a Hawaiian shirt Will couldn't bear to wake. At first the restroom had appeared closed for cleaning, but the janitor had removed the sign and Will had dragged it toward it gratefully. He had reached the urinal, unzipped, experienced relief. The door had opened. A tall man in a beige coat had come in. There were half a dozen free urinals, Will at one end, but the man chose the one beside him. Moments passed and the tall man did not pee. Will, emptying at high velocity, felt a twinge of compassion. He had been there. The door had opened again. A second man entered and locked the door. Will put himself back in his pants. He had looked at the man beside him, thinking this was funny, in retrospect. That whatever was happening here, whatever specific danger was implied by a man entering a public restroom and effing locking it, at least Will and the tall man were in it together. At least it was 2 against 1. Then he had realized Shy Blatterguy's eyes were calm and deep and kind of beautiful, actually, but the key point being calm as in unsurprised, and Shy Blatterguy had seized his head and propelled him into the wall. Then the pain and questions. Have to get this blood out of his hair, said the short man. He attacked Will's face with paper towels. His eye looks terrible. If they get close enough to see his eyes, we have bigger problems. The tall man was wiping his hands with a small white cloth, giving attention to each finger. He was thin and dark-skinned, and Will was no longer finding his eyes quite so beautiful. He was getting more of a cold, soulless kind of vibe, like those eyes could watch terrible things and not look away. So, Will, you with us? You can walk and talk? F, he said. Orf. I didn't come out like he meant. His head felt loose. Good, said the tall man. So here's the deal. We need to get out of this airport in minimum time with minimum fuss. I want your cooperation with that. If I fail to receive it, I'm going to make things bad for you, not because I have anything against you particularly, but I need you motivated. Do you understand? I'm not, he searched for the word, rich, kidnappable, anybody. I'm a carpenter. I make decks, balconies, gazebos. Yes, that's why you're here. Your inevitable work with gazebos. You can forget the act. We know who you are, and they know who you are, and they're here, so let's get the F out while we can. He took a moment to choose his words because he had the feeling he would only get one more shot at this. My name is Will Park. I'm a carpenter. I have a girlfriend, and she's waiting out front to pick me up. I don't know who you think I am or why you stuck a thing in my eye, but I'm nobody. I promise you I'm nobody. The short man had been packing equipment into a brown satchel, and now he slung it around one shoulder and peered into Will's face. He had a thinning hair and anxious eyebrows. Will might have pegged him for an accountant, ordinarily. I tell you what, Will said. I'll go into his stall and close the door. 20 minutes. I'll wait 20 minutes. It'll be like we never met. The short man glanced at the tall man. I'm not the guy, Will said. I'm not the guy. The problem with that little plan, Will, said the tall man, is that if you stay here, in 20 minutes you'll be dead. If you go to your girlfriend, who I'm sorry to say you can no longer trust, you'll also be dead. If you do anything other than come with us now, quickly and cooperatively, again, I'm afraid dead. It may not seem like it, but we are the only people who can save you from that. His eyes searched Will's. I can see, though, that you're not finding this very persuasive, so let me switch to a more direct method. He held open his coat. Nestled against his side, nose down in a thigh holster, was a short, wide shotgun. It made no sense because they were in an airport. Come, or I will shoot you through the effing kidneys. Yes, Will said. Okay, you make a good point. I'll cooperate. The key was to get out of the restroom. The airport was full of security. Once he was out, a push, a yell, some running. This was how he would escape. Nope, said the short man. No, agreed the tall man. I see it. Dope him up. A door opened. On the other side of it was a world of stunted color, and muted sound, as if something was stuck in Will's ears, and eyes, and possibly brain. He shook his head to clear it, but the world grew dark and angry and would not stay upright. The world did not like to be shaken. He understood that now. He wouldn't shake it again. He felt his feet sliding away from him on silent roller skates and reached for a wall for support. The wall cursed and dug its fingers into his arm. It was probably not a wall. It was probably a person. You gave him too much, said the person. Safe than sorry, said another person. They were bad persons, Will recalled. They were kidnapping him. He felt angry about this, although in a technical kind of way, like taking a stand on principle. He tried to reel in his roller skate feet, muttered a person, the tall one with the calm eyes. Will didn't like this person. He had forgotten why. No, it was the kidnapping. Walk. He walked resentfully. There were important facts in his brain, but he couldn't find them. Everything was moving. A stream of airport people broke around him, everyone going somewhere. Will had been going somewhere, meeting someone. To his left, a bird twittered, or a phone. The short man squinted at a screen. Rain. Where? Domestic arrivals, right ahead. Will found this idea amusing. Rain in the terminal. Do we know a Rain? Yeah, girl. New. Crap, said the short man. I hate shooting girls. You get used to it, said the tall man. A young couple passed, gripping hands. Lovers. The concept seemed familiar. This way, said the tall man, steering Will into a bookstore. He came face to face with a shelf that said, New Releases. Will's feet kept skating, and he put out a hand to catch himself and felt a sharp pain. Problem? Possibly nothing, murmured the tall man. Or possibly Rain passing behind us now in a blue summer dress. In glossy covers, a reflection skipped by. Will was trying to figure out what had stabbed him. There was a loose wire in the New Releases sign. The interesting thing was that being stabbed had helped to clear the fog in his head. Busiest part of any store. Always the new releases, said the tall man. That's what attracts people. Not the best. The new. Why is that, Will, do you think? Will pricked himself with the wire. He was too tentative, could hardly feel it, and so tried again, harder. This time a blade of pain swept through his mind. He remembered needles and questions. His girlfriend, Cecilia, was out in front of a white SUV. He would be in a 2-minute parking bay. They had arranged that carefully. He was late because of these guys. I think we're good, said the short man. Make sure. The short man moved away. All right, Will, said the tall man. In a few moments, we're going to cross the hall and walk down some stairs. There will be a little circumnavigating in passenger jets, and then we'll board a nice, comfortable 12-seater. There will be snacks, drinks, if you're thirsty. The tall man glanced at him. Still with me? Will grabbed the man's face. He had no plan for what to do next, so wound up just hanging on to the guy's head and staggering backward until he tripped over a cardboard display. The two of them went down in a tangle of beige coat and scattered books. Run, Will thought. And yes, that was a solid idea. He found his feet and ran for the exit. In the glass he saw a wild-eyed man and realized it was him. He heard yelps and alarmed voices, possibly a tall man getting up, who had a shotgun, Will recalled now. A shotgun, which was not the kind of thing you would think would slip your memory. He stumbled out into an ocean of bright, frightened faces and open mouths. It was hard to remember what he was doing. His legs threatened treachery, but the motion was good, helping to clear his head. He saw escalators and forged toward them. His back sang with potential shotgun impacts, but the airport people were being very good about moving out of his way, practically throwing themselves aside, for which he was grateful. He reached the escalators, but his roller skate feet kept going and he fell on his back. The ceiling moved slowly by. The tiles were up. They were filthy. They were seriously disgusting. He sat up, remembering Cecilia. Also the shotgun. And now he thought about it. How about some security? Where were they? Because it was an airport. It was an airport. He grabbed the handrail, intending to pull himself up to look for security, but his knees went in opposite directions. He tumbled down the rest of the way. Body parts telegraphed complaints from faraway places. He rose. Sweat ran into his eyes because the head fog wasn't confusing enough. He needed blurred vision. But he couldn't see light, which meant exit, which meant Cecilia, so he ran on. Someone shouted. The light grew. Frigid air burst around him, as if he'd plunged into a mountain lake, and he sucked it into his lungs. Snow, he saw. It was snowing. Flakes like tiny stars. Help, guy with a gun, he said to a man who looked like a cop, but on reflection was probably directing cabs. Orange buses, parking bays. The two minute spaces were just a little farther. He almost collided with a trolley-laden family, and the man tried to grab his jacket, but he kept running, and it was starting to make sense now, running. And he was starting to remember how to coordinate the various pieces of his body, and he threw a glance over his shoulder, and the pole ran into him. He tasted blood. Someone asked if he was okay, some kid pulling earbuds out of his hair. Will stared. He didn't understand the question. He had to run into a pole, and all his thoughts had fallen out. He groped for them, and found Cecilia. He raised his body like a wreck from the deep and shoved aside the kid, and rode forward on a crest of the kid's abuse. He finally saw it, her car, a white fortress on wheels with Virginia for Lovers on the rear window. Joy drove his steps. He wrenched open the handle and fell inside. He had never been so proud. Made it, he gasped. He closed his eyes. Will, he looked at her. What? He began to feel unsure because her face was strange, and then it came to him in a fountain of dread that began somewhere unidentifiable and ended in his testicles. He should not be here. He should not have led men with guns to his girlfriend. That was a stupid thing to do. He felt furious with himself and dismayed because it had been so hard to get here, and now he had to run again. Will, what's wrong? Her fingers came at him. Your nose is bleeding. There was a tiny furrow in her brow, which he knew very well and was sad to leave. I ran into a pole. He reached for the latch. The longer he sat here, the closer the fog pressed. Wait, where are you going? Away, I have to. Sit down. Have to go. Then I'll drive you somewhere. Stay in your seat. That was an idea, driving. Yes. You'll stay if I drive? Yes. She reached for the ignition. Okay, just stay. I'll take you to a hospital or something, all right? Yes. He felt relief. Weight stole through his body. He wondered if it was okay to slide into unconsciousness. It seemed out of his hands now. She would drive to safety. This car was a tank. He had mocked it before because it was so big and she was so tiny, but they were equally aggressive, and now it would save him. He might as well close his eyes a moment. When he opened them, she was looking at him. He blinked. He had the feeling she'd fallen asleep. Why? He sat up. Shh. Are we moving? They were not moving. Why aren't we moving? Just stay in your seat until they get here, Celia said. That's the important thing. He turned in his seat. The glass was fogged over. He couldn't see what was out there. Drive, now! She tucked a wisp of hair behind one ear. She did that when she was remembering something. He could see her across the room, talking to somebody, and know she was relating a memory. Remember the day you met my parents? You were freaking out because you thought we were going to be late? But we weren't. We weren't late, Will. He rubbed condensation from the window. Through the whiteout, men in brown suits jogged toward him. Drive, Sil, drive! This is just like then, she said. Everything's going to be fine. He lunged across her, groping for the ignition. Where are the keys? I don't have them. What? I don't have them anymore. She put a hand on his thigh. Just sit with me a minute. Isn't the snow beautiful? Sil, he said. Sil! There was a flash of dark movement and the door opened. Hands seized him. He fought the hands, but they were irresistible, and pulled him into the cold. He threw fists in all directions until something hard exploded across the back of his head, and then he was being borne on broad shoulders. Some time seemed to have passed in between because it was darker. Pain rolled through his head in waves. He saw a black top and a flapping coat-tail. F, said someone with frustration. Forget the plane. They can't wait for us any longer. Forget the plane, then what? Other side of those buildings, there's a fire path. Take us to the freeway. We drive? Are you kidding? They'll close the freeway. Not if we're fast. Not if we're, said the shorter man. This is all effed. It's effed because you shouldn't leave when I said. Shush, said the tall man. They stopped moving. The wind blew a while. Then there was some running, and Will heard an engine, a car stopping. Out, said the tall man, and Will was manhandled into a small vehicle. The short man came in behind him. A disco ball dangled from the mirror. A row of stuffed animals with enormous black eyes smiled at him from the dash. A blue rabbit held a flag on a stick, championing some country Will didn't recognize. He thought he might be able to stab that into somebody's face. He reached for it, but the short man got there first. No, said the short man, confiscating the rabbit. The engine revved. How'd it go with the girlfriend, Will? The tall man said. He steered the car around a pillar marked D3, which Will recognized as belonging to the parking garage. Are you ready to consider that we know what we're doing? This is a mistake, said the short man. We should stay on foot. The car is fine. It is not fine. Nothing is fine. He had a short, angry-looking submachine gun in his lap. Will had somehow not noticed that. Wolf was on us from the start. They knew. They didn't. Bronte, shut up. Bronte effed us, said the short man. She's effed us, and you won't see it. The tall man aimed the car at a collection of low hangars and warehouse-like buildings. As they drew nearer, the wind picked up, splitting ice down the funnels made by their walls. The car shook. Will jammed between the two men, leaned on one, then the other. This car sucks, said the short man. A small figure loomed out of the gloom ahead, a girl wearing a blue dress. Her hair danced in the wind, but she was standing very still. The short man leaned forward. Is that rain? I think so. Hit her. The engine whined. The girl grew in the windshield. Flowers on her dress, Will saw. Yellow flowers. Hit her! Ah, F, said the tall man, almost too quietly to hear. The car began to scream. The world shifted. Weight forced Will sideways. Things moved beyond the glass. A creature, a behemoth with searing eyes and silver teeth, fell upon them. The car bent and turned. The teeth were a grill, Will realized, and the eyes headlights because the creature was an SUV. It chewed the front of the car and bellowed and shook and ran into the brick wall. Will put his arms around his head because everything was breaking. He heard groans, shuffling, the tick of the engine cooling. He raised his head. The tall man's shoes were disappearing through a jagged hole where the windshield had been. The short man was fumbling with his door latch, but in a way that suggested to Will that he was having trouble making his hands do what he wanted. The interior of the car was oddly shaped. He tried to push something off his shoulder, but it was the roof. The short man's door squealed and jammed. The tall man appeared on the other side and wrenched it open. The short man crawled out and looked back at Will. Come on, Will shook his head. The short man breathed a curse. He went away and the tall man's face dipped into view. Hey, Will, take a look at your right there. Lean forward a little. That's it. Can you see? The side window was a half-peeled spider web, but beyond that he could see the vehicle that had attacked them. It was a white SUV. Its front was crumpled against the wall. Steam issued from around its bent front wheels. The sticker on the rear window said Virginia's for lovers. Your girlfriend just tried to kill us, Will. She drove right at us, and I'm not sure if you can see from there, but she didn't even stop to put on a seatbelt. That's how focused she was. Can you see her, Will? No, he said, but he could. Yes, and you need to get out of the car because there are more where she came from. There are always more. He got out of the car. He was intending to punch the man in the jaw, knock him down, and maybe choke the life out of him with those eyes, watch those eyes go dim. But something snared his wrists. By the time he realized the short man was handcuffing him in the white plastic, it was done. The tall man pushed him forward. Walk. No, no. She's dead, said the tall man. Faster. I'll kill you, Will said. The short man jogged ahead of him, cradling his submachine gun. The head moved from side to side. He was probably looking for that girl, the one they'd called Rain. The girl who had stood like she was nailed to the blacktop, like she could stare down a car. Utility van in the hangar there, said the short man. It may have the keys. Some men in the hard hats and overalls approached. The short man screamed at them to lie down and not effing move. The tall man pulled open the door of a white van and put Will in it. Will swung around so that when the tall man followed him in, Will could kick his teeth down his throat. But a flash of blue in the side mirror caught his eye. He peered at it. There was something blue crouched under a refueling truck, a blue dress. The van's side door was pulled open and the short man came in. He looked at Will. What? Will said nothing. The tall man started the engine. He had slid into the van without Will noticing. Wait up, said the short man. He's seen something. The tall man glanced at him. Did you? No, he said. Crap, said the short man and tumbled out of the van. Will heard his footsteps. He didn't want to look at the side mirror because the tall man was watching, but he glanced once and there was nothing there anymore. A few moments passed. There was a noise. The girl in the blue dress burst past Will's window, startling him, her blonde hair streaming. There was a hammer of gunfire. She fell bonelessly to the concrete. Don't move, the tall man said to Will. The short man came around the van and looked at them. The barrel of his gun was smoking. He looked at the girl and gave a short barking laugh. I got her! Will could see the girl's eyes. She was sprawled on her stomach, hair sprayed across her face, but he could still see that her eyes were the same blue as her dress. Dark blood stole across the concrete. Effing got her, said the short man. Holy crap, I nailed a poet. The tall man revved the engine. Let's go. The short man gestured, wait. He moved closer to the girl, keeping his gun trained on her, as if there was some chance she might get up. She didn't move. He reached her and prodded her with his shoe. The girl's eyes shifted. Contracts hello sick rattrack, she said, or something similar. Shoot yourself. The short man brought the tip of his gun to his chin and pulled the trigger. His head snapped back. The tall man kicked open the van door and raised his shotgun to his shoulder. He discharged it at the girl. Her body jerked. The tall man walked forward, ejected the spent cartridge, and fired again. Thunder rolled around the hangar. By the time the tall man returned to the van, Will was halfway out the door. Back, said the tall man. His eyes were full of death, and Will saw clearly that they were now dealing in absolutes. This knowledge passed between them. Will got back in the van. His bound hands pressed into his back. The tall man put the van into reverse, navigated around the two bodies, and accelerated into the night. He did not speak or look in Will's direction. Will watched buildings flit by without hope. He might have had a chance to escape, but that was over now. Airport gunman had nothing to live for. Portland, Oregon. The maintenance worker who fatally shot 2 people before taking his own life, triggering an 8-hour shutdown of Portland International Airport, suffered from depression following the breakup of his marriage. Friends and family said yesterday. Emilio Gonzalez, 37, told a friend he had nothing left to live for after a court decision awarded full custody of his 2 children, 11 and 7, to his ex-wife, Melinda Gonzalez, 3 months ago. It is believed Mr. Gonzalez sought medical assistance and was prescribed antidepressant medication. Colleagues remain in disbelief at Mr. Gonzalez's actions, describing him as a friendly, generous man who often went out of his way to help others. Emilio was a flat-out nice guy, said Jerome Weber, who worked with Mr. Gonzalez in aircraft maintenance for 2 years prior to the incident. A little quiet, but anyone would be knocked around by his circumstances. He's just the last guy you'd expect to ever do anything like this. Airport management defended their hiring practices, saying all employees were subject to regular psychological checkups. Mr. Gonzalez passed such a check as recently as 4 weeks ago. We are doing everything we can to get to the bottom of this, said George Aftercock, manager of security for Portland International Airport. We want to know how a model employee can suddenly snap. Emilio Gonzalez shot 2 people on Saturday. A third person, a woman, is believed to have died in a car accident while trying to flee. Their names have not yet been released. An earlier disturbance in which a man ran through the arrivals hall in an agitated state, initially thought to be connected to the shooting, has since been found to be unrelated. Post 16. In reply to http nationstates.org pages topic -8724511 post -16.html. I can type that out if that helps. There we go. I wonder if it would actually bring up anything. Oh. Well, that's sad. Okay, so it doesn't come up. That's alright. I'll just delete that then. Okay. In my city, we spent $1.6 billion on a new ticketing system for the trains. We replaced paper tickets with smart cards, and now they can tell where people get on and off. So question, how is that worth $1.6 billion? People say it's the government being incompetent, and okay, but this is happening all over. All the transit networks are getting smart cards. The grocery stores are taking your name. The airports are getting face recognition cameras. Those cameras, they don't work when people try to avoid them, like they can be fooled by glasses. We know they're ineffective as anti-terrorism devices, but we keep installing them. All of this stuff, the smart cards, the ID systems, the anti-congestion, car tracking tech, all of it is terrible at what it's officially supposed to do. It's only good for tracking the rest of us, the 99.9%, who just use the smart card or whatever and let ourselves be tracked because it's easier. I'm not a privacy nut, and I don't care that much if these organizations want to know where I go and what I buy. But what bothers me is how hard they're all working for that data, how much money they're spending, and how they never admit that's what they want. It means that information must be really valuable for some reason, and I just wonder to who and why. 2. Hmm, said the man in the trucker cap. I think. No, just a second here. Take your time, sir, said Emily. The queen isn't going anywhere. She's quite comfortable under there in all her skirts. She'll wait for you all day. She smiled at the man standing behind the trucker. The man smiled back, remembered his wife, and frowned. Forget that guy, then. On the left, said a woman in an I love San Francisco sweater. Her eyes darted at Emily. I think. You think? Said the trucker. I'm pretty sure. Emily slipped the woman a wink. You got it. The woman's lips tightened, pleased. I don't know, said the trucker. I was thinking middle. That queen is quick on her feet, sir. No shame in not being able to follow her. Take a guess. Middle, said the trucker, because take a guess meant that's enough, Benny. Benny wasn't a trucker, of course. He had found that cap in an alley. With it pulled low and his straggly sand-colored beard, he could pass. You sure now? You got some advice from this lady here? No, definitely middle. As you say, sir. Emily flipped the middle card. The crowd murmured. Sorry, sir, she got away from you. It took a little work to shift the queen from right to left, a Mexican turnover, but she made it. On the left, just like the lady said. Should have listened. Quick eye you have there, ma'am, very quick. She spread the cards, scooped them up, and flipped them from hand to hand, fast but not too fast. Sections of the crowd began to move away. Emily tucked a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. She was wearing a big floppy hat with colored panels, which she had to keep pushing back to keep from falling over her eyes. Care to try, ma'am? Only $2. Simplest thing in the world if you've got the eye for it. The woman hesitated. Only one game in her. Sometimes Emily would let a mark win the first game, so they want to play again, and again, and again. But that only worked on a certain type of person. Still $2. $2 was fine. I'll play. The speaker was a young man with long hair and a cheap, not quite black suit, and a pale yellow tie. A plastic ID hung from his shirt pocket. There were 4 of them, 2 more boys and a girl, all with that look like college students on summer jobs, salespeople maybe, or something cheap and devious. Not cops. She could tell that. Cops were a constant hazard on the pier. She grinned. The woman in the sweater was moving away, but that didn't matter. Cheap suit guy was better. A lot better. All right, sir, step on up. You did me a favor, I think. That lady may have cleaned me out. I may clean you out, said the guy. Ho, big talker, that's fine, sir. Talk as much as you like, no price tag on talking. The game, though, that's only $2. He dropped 2 bills onto Emily's card table. She found him irritating, although he wasn't sure why. Guys like this, arrogant and audience watching, they were gold. They would lose and double up forever. You had to throw them a win here and there, so they wouldn't blow up, accuse you of cheating. But if you were smart, they would play all day. They would do it because once they were in the hole, their pride wouldn't let them out. She'd taken $180 from a guy like this not 2 months ago, most of it on the last game. His neck had bulged and his eyes had watered, and she saw how much he wanted to hit her. But there was a crowd. She had eaten that night. She slung the queen and 2 aces onto the table. Catch her if you can. She flipped them, began to swish them around. Loves her exercise, does the queen. Always takes her morning constitutional. Problem is, where does she go? The guy wasn't even looking at the cards. Hard to win if you don't watch, sir. Very tricky. His ID tag said, Hi, I'm Lee. Below that, Authorized Questionnaire Administration Agent. Lee, is it? You must be good if you can follow the queen without looking at her, Lee. Very good. I am, he said, smiling. He hadn't taken his eyes off her. She decided to take Lee's $2. If he ponied up again, she would take that. She would ask if he wanted to double up, and she would take that, and she would be merciless, not give him a single game, because Lee was a D. The crowd murmured. She was flicking the cards too fast, holding nothing back. She stopped, pulled away her hands. There was a collective titter and some applause. She was breathing fast. Well, she said, let's see how good you are, Lee. He still hadn't looked at the cards. The guy behind and to his right, one of the market researchers, smiled at her brilliantly, as if he'd only just noticed her. The other boy muttered to the girl, Good thing is I'm right where I want to be, right in the best possible place, and the girl nodded and said, Yeah, you're so right. On the right, Lee said. Wrong. You sure about that? Want a moment to think? But her hands were already moving, eager to claim victory. Last chance to queen on the right, he said, and as Emily touched the cards, she felt her fingers slide under and to the right. Her left hand went out in a flashy extension that did nothing but draw the eye, and her right slipped 1 card below the other. She was scattered applause. Emily stared. The queen of hearts was on the right. She had switched them. At the last moment she had switched them. Why had she done that? Well done, sir. She noticed a Benny shifting his feet. glancing around for cops, no doubt wondering what the H she was doing. Congratulations, she reached into her money pouch. $2, a difference of 4 between winning and losing. That was a meal. It was a down payment on a night of chemical joy. She held out the bills, and when Lee took them, it hurt. He tucked them into his wallet. The girl glanced at her watch. Something plastic and shiny. One of the boys yawned. Play again? Double up, perhaps? A man like you likes to play for real money, am I right? She was pushing, could hear the strain in her own voice because she knew she'd lost him. No, thank you. He looked bored. There's nothing here I want. She kept walking, hunched over, her Pikachu bag on her back, the floppy hat wobbling about. The sun was setting, but the heat radiated out of the sidewalk, coming off the brick tenements in waves. I didn't want to talk about it. You never let a guy like that win the first game. Then he was carrying the table. He gets ahead, it's over. It doesn't care about money. He cares about beating you. You gave him what he wanted. I flipped the wrong card, okay? I flipped the wrong card. That guy was going to play. Benny kicked a plastic bottle. It spun across the sidewalk and onto the road, where a passing car ran over it with a crunch. He was good for 20. Easy. Maybe 50. Yeah, well, Benny stopped. Emily stopped, too. He was a good guy, Benny, until he wasn't. Are you taking this seriously? I am, Benny. She tugged at his arm. $50. Yeah, $50. She felt her eyes widen. That would pee Benny off, but she couldn't help it. She was perverse sometimes. What? Come on, she tugged his arm. He was like stone. Let's get some food. I'll cook you something. F you. Benny! F you! He shook her off and let the table drop to the sidewalk. His fists bunched. A passing man in a collared business shirt glanced at her, then at Benny, then away. Thanks, guy. Get away from me. Benny, come on. He took a step forward. She flinched. When he hit, he meant it. Do not follow me home. Fine, she said. Fine. She waited until the violence strained out of him, then put out her hand. At least give me my money. I made 120 today. Give me half. Then she ran because Benny's eyes popped in the way that meant she'd pushed him too far again. Her Pikachu bag bounced against her back. Her floppy hat fell off and she left it on the sidewalk. When she reached the corner, Benny was half a block back. He'd chased her, but not far. She was glad she'd held on to her bag. Her jacket was in there. She slept in Gleason's Park, beneath a hedge that people didn't notice and that she had escape routes on 2 sides. She woke to a midnight screaming match, but it was nobody she knew and too far away to be a threat. She closed her eyes and fell asleep to F and mine. Then it was dawn and Drunk was peeing on her legs. She scribbled up, Dude! The man stumbled back. Sorry, he barely got the word out. She inspected herself. Spatters on her pants, boots. Dude, the F? I didn't see F, she said, and pulled her bag out of her hedge and went looking for a bathroom. There was a public restroom in a corner of the park. It wasn't a place she went if she could help it, but the sun was rising and her pants were stiffening with urine. She circled its cinder block exterior, carrying her boots until she was sure it was empty, then stood in the doorway, thinking. Only one way out was the problem with public restrooms. One way out, and you could holler all you wanted. Nobody would come to help. But she went in. She checked the lock, just in case it had been repaired the last time she was here. No, she tugged off her pants and stuffed them, and her sock, under a faucet. Concrete air tickled her skin. She threw glances toward the doorway because this was a really bad position to be in should anyone appear, but no one came, so she got confident and lifted her leg to wash beneath the faucet. The paper towel dispenser was empty, so she mopped herself dry with translucent squares of toilet paper. She opened her bag. Maybe better clothes had materialized while she wasn't looking. No, she closed the bag and wrung out her jeans as best she could. What she would have liked to do was carry them over to the park and dry them on the grass while she lay in the sun, legs bare, eyes closed, just soaking up rays, her and her jeans. Another time, maybe. Another universe. She began to pull up her damp pants. As she wandered down Fleet, her stomach tweaked. It was too early for the soup kitchens. She thought about hitting up a friend. Maybe Betty had cooled down. She chewed her lip. She felt like a McMuffin. Then she saw him, Lee, of the long hair and cheap suit, Lee who had taken her $2. He was planted on a street corner, clipboard in hand, approaching commuters with a fake smile. He was in a market research. She remembered. She'd seen that on his ID. She watched him. It felt like he owed her. When she approached, his eyes shifted to her briefly from the man he was quizzing. You owe me breakfast, she said. Thank you so much, Lee told the man. I appreciate your time. He wrote something on his clipboard and flipped the page. When he was done writing, he smiled at Emily. It's the hustler. I let you win, she said. I took pity on you. Buy me an egg McMuffin. You let me win? Come on, I'm a professional. You don't take a game off me unless I give it to you, she smiled. It was hard to tell this was working. Fair's fair. I'm hungry. I'd have thought a professional could afford her own Egg McMuffin. Sure, she said, but I'm letting you pay because I like your face. Lee looked amused. It was the first nice expression she'd seen from him. Okay. He tucked his pen into his clipboard. Tell you what, I will buy you an Egg McMuffin. 2 Egg McMuffins, she said. She bit down, and it was as good as she'd imagined. Across the Formica table, Lee sat with his arms spread along the back of the booth seat. Outside, children yipped and chased each other around a neon playground. Who brought their kids to McDonald's for breakfast? She shouldn't be judging. She gulped coffee. You are hungry, said Lee. Tough times. She chewed her muffin. It's the economy. Lee wasn't eating. How old are you? 18. I mean, really. 18. She was 16. You look young to be on your own. She shrugged, unwrapping the next McMuffin. Lee had brought her 3, plus the coffee and the hash browns. I'm okay, I'm fine. How old are you? He watched her devour the muffin. Why did you want a McMuffin? I haven't eaten in like a day. You mean a McMuffin in particular? I like them. Why? She eyed him. It's such a stupid question. I like them. Right. He looked away for the first time. She didn't want to talk about herself. Where are you from? Not here. How can you tell? It's a gift. Well, he said, you're right, I travel, city to city, asking people to fill out questionnaires. That's right. You must be really good at that, she said. You must be like extremely talented at asking people to fill out questionnaires. His expression didn't change. She didn't know why she was trying to needle him. He had bought her food, but still, she didn't like him. It took more McMuffins to change that. What brings you to San Francisco? You. Oh, yeah? She hoped this wasn't a running situation. She'd have enough of running. She swallowed the last of the McMuffin and started on the hash browns because it would be good if she could get all this down first. Not you in particular. Your type. I'm looking for people who are persuasive and intransigent. Well, bingo, she said, although she didn't know what intransigent meant. Unfortunately, you failed. I failed? You let me take your money. Hey, that was a pity win. I already said. You want to try again? He smiled. I'm serious. That was a pity win. You won't win again. She meant it. He said. Okay, tell you what, I'll give you another shot. Benny had her cards. She could get more than she'd push this guy to 100, asked to see color. The second of the bills touched the table, she'd grab them and run. She'd go to Benny and tease him a while. Guy was good for about 20, you said? She loved the look he got when she brought him money. Maybe 50? Let me finish my coffee. We'll go to the store across the street. Not cards, a different kind of test. Oh, she said doubtfully. Like what? Like, don't blow me. She was startled. But his expression hadn't changed, so maybe she heard this wrong. Or it was an expression somehow. Maybe he meant, don't blow me off. There were plenty of people nearby, so no immediate problem, but she needed to find a way to leave alone. My job is not actually to administer questionnaires. My job is to test people. Think of it as a job interview that you don't know you're having. She swallowed the last of the hash browns. Well, thanks for thinking of me, but I'm pretty happy with what I've got going on now. Thanks, though. She gulped coffee dregs. Thanks for the breakfast. She reached for her bag. It pays. She hesitated. How much? How much do you want? I make 500 a day now, she said, which was an outrageous lie, of course, but she made between $0 and $200 a day and split that with Benny. This would be more. How much more? She caught herself. What was she thinking? He was wearing a plastic watch. He would take her to some dingy apartment and lock the door. There was no job. Look, you know what? I'm just going to pass. He reached into a pocket and opened his wallet. She'd noted yesterday that he had no more than $20 in there. He unzipped a section and tossed notes onto the table. She stared. There were a lot of them. We wear cheap clothing because it would seem off if we stood around on street corners in $10,000 suits. I see, she said, not really listening. Let go of your bag. She looked at him. Apparently it was obvious that she had been thinking of snatching that cash and running like H. She released the bag. You get a first-class air ticket to your head office in D.C. You spend 1 week there doing a round of tests. If you pass, you become a trainee on a starting salary of $60,000. Fail it, and we fly you home again with $5,000 in an envelope for your trouble. How does that sound? Like a scam? He laughed. I know, it does sound like a scam. I thought the same thing when they approached me. She kept looking at the cash on the table. She didn't want to. It was irresistible. You went to school, Lee said. I mean, at some point. And it didn't suit you very well. They wanted to teach you things you didn't care about. Dates and math and trivia about dead presidents. They didn't teach you persuasion. Your ability to persuade is the single most important determinant of your quality of life, and they didn't cover that at all. Well, we do, and we're looking for students with natural aptitude. Okay, she said, I'm interested. I'll take a ticket. He smiled. She remembered his comment about the blowjob. She must have gotten that backward. He must want her to blow him in exchange for the air ticket. That made sense. She wondered if there really was a job. He was kind of believable. Show me something, she said, something official. He slid a business card across the table. His full name was Lee Bob Black. She tucked this into her bag, feeling better. This card enabled her to call Lee's boss and explain what Lee had asked her to do in exchange for a job. She hoped it was a big company, the kind that hated publicity. She hoped there was a job because she would be awesome at it. Now you know who I am, said Lee. Who are you? Emily. Are you a cat person or a dog person? What? Cats or dogs? Which do you prefer? What do you care? He shrugged. I'm just making conversation. I hate cats, too sneaky. Ha, he said. What's your favorite color? This is your idea of a conversation? Just answer the question. I'm just saying, as someone who knows about banter, you're really terrible at it, she said. Black. Close your eyes and pick a number between 1 and 100. Are these from your questionnaires? Yes. You're surveying me? Is this the test? Part of it. I'm not closing my eyes. 33. Do you love your family? She didn't move. Are you serious? You think I'd be here if I had a good family? She almost got up, but she didn't. No. Okay then, said Lee. Last question. Why did you do it? She stared. Don't manufacture an answer, said Lee. I'll be able to tell, and it will invalidate the test. That's a bullcrap question, isn't it? How do you mean? You don't even know what you're asking. You just want me to think you do. He shrugged. This doesn't sound like a survey. It's a personality test. Is this Scientology? No. Amway? I promise it's not Amway. It's no one you've ever heard of. You're very close, Emily. What's your answer? To your bullcrap question? You don't have to believe it. You just have to answer honestly. Fine, she said. I did it because I felt like it. Lee nodded. One disappointing thing about this job. People always turn out to be less interesting than you hope. Before Emily could decide whether he'd insulted her, he spoke a jumble of words. They slid by her and were gone. She felt dazed. Go to the restroom, he said. Wait there for me. She walked to the counter. She was leaving her bag behind, and that was okay. Lee would look after it. She asked a boy behind the register for the bathroom key, and he gave her a look but handed it over. There was a single stall. She closed the toilet lid and sat on it. After a minute, the door opened and Lee came in, talking on a cell phone. Her heart thumped. He was kind of handsome. His face grew on you. She even liked his hair. She sort of loved him. Yeah, Lee told his phone. But hey, we're here. Let's give it one more pass. He stopped in front of her. She watched him fumbling with his zipper. She was in an interesting place. She was present, but remote. Everything was curious and amusing. Lee jammed his cell phone against his shoulder, dug into his pants, and pulled out his penis. It was longer than she expected. It bobbed in front of her, curving upward before her eyes. I'm actually with her now, said Lee. Thought there was something there for a minute. He covered the phone. Put it in your mouth. She put her hand around his fetus. She opened her mouth. She thought, wait, what? I know, said Lee. Every time. He laughed. His fetus jumped in her hand. She punched his balls. Lee howled. She tried to kick him, but he was doubling over in a full retreat, and she caught his knee or elbow or something. She ran for the door and pulled it open. Heads turned. Pervert! She yelled to the turning faces. There's a pervert in there. She scooped up her bag. Not one person had moved. Pervert! She shouted and ran. In the alley, boys in baseball caps were dealing drugs or freestyling lyrics or whatever they did, and one stepped toward her, his hands out. She blasted past him. Her bag bounced. It was 3 blocks before she felt safe enough to stop and check whether Lee was following. No. She dropped her bag for a second and put her hands on her knees to suck air. People flowed around her. What had just happened? She remembered the details, but it didn't make sense. She didn't know what she had been thinking. She looked up. Lee was shambling toward her. A hand clutched over his groin, his face contorted. She jerked upright. On the other side of the street, a girl with long brown hair and a cheap suit stepped onto the road, backed away from a car, and then ran at her through the traffic. The way she was angling, she wouldn't cut Emily off so much as corral her, force her eastward, and this set off all kinds of alarm bells because when someone did that, they had friends. She craned her neck and spotted two clipboard-carrying boys in suits heading straight at her. "Help!" she said, but to no one in particular. And of course there was no help. She spied an alley and ran for it. The bag slipped and she panicked and let it drop, which was unthinkably terrible because without her bag she had nothing. She would have to rely on people. She passed an office building, a beautiful business couple emerging from its glass revolving doors like an advertisement, and she thought about running in there to whatever clean, safe, corporate warmed world they had come from. But that would never work. That would end in her being tossed out the same door by a security guard in charge of protecting the world from people like her. She kept running. The alley turned and dipped and became a driveway. Not good, not good. It terminated at a locked roller door, painted "Keep Clear" loading area. She started back the way she had come, but they were already here. One of the boys held her Pikachu bag. She shoved a hand into her jeans pocket. "I've got mace." She backed up until she hit the roller door. All those office windows, surely someone would be looking down. Maybe if she screamed. Maybe if there were angels. "Take a moment," said the girl. "Get your breath back." Beside her, Lee bent and spat. "Stay away from me. Sorry about the chase. We just really didn't want you to get away." "I will F you up," said Emily. "It's okay," the girl smiled quizzly. "It's okay, Emily. You passed." Memo. 2. All staff. From Cameron Winters. "Hi guys, just a quick one to say we are getting leave loading on the 29th, so that's double time for all casuals. Nice one, head office. I'm away for the long weekend, so Melanie will be CRO on her 18th birthday too, Saturday. Sorry, Melanie, it just slipped out. Also, please, be careful who you give the bathroom key to. We had a junkie and a poor guy walked in on her. She freaked out and scared the customers. Obviously not a good look. Peace. XCX. 3. The van's tires slipped on the freeway merge, and the interior filled with the light from the approaching 18-wheeler. "F," said the tall man. A horn bellowed. Will felt a looseness, a surrender of the vehicle to natural forces, then the wheels bit and straightened up between the lanes. The truck's horn blew endlessly. He wondered how much damage he would do to himself if he kicked open the door and flung himself out at this speed. Probably a lot. His hands were bound. "F," said the man. He was silent a moment. "F." Will said nothing. "What's your name?" "Will Park." "Not now. Before." "I don't know what you mean. When you lived in Broken Hill, Australia, what was your name?" "I've never lived in—" "I can hear your accent. I grew up in Australia, in Melbourne. But I've never been to Broken Hill." The man hauled the wheel. The van slid across 3 lanes and slewed to a stop in the emergency lane. He pulled on the handbrake, took the shotgun, and tried to drag Will out of the van. Will resisted, and the man hit him twice with the shotgun butt, and Will tumbled out into the snow. When he got to his feet, he was looking into a gun barrel. "You're thinking if you're not who I want, I'll let you go," said the man, "when in fact, if you're not the outlier, I'm going to shoot you and leave your body in the snow." "I'm the outlier." 18 months ago, where did you live?" "Broken Hill." "Where in Broken Hill?" A car blew by. "Main Street." "Oh, for F's sake," said the tall man. "Tell me what you want. I don't know what you want." The man sank to his haunches. "You drive a Taurus. You've been in the States 8 months. A year before that, you lived in Broken Hill. You had a dog." He shivered. A truck passed, wheels splitting road ice. "Not the outlier," said the man. He shook his head. "Well, F. I'm really sorry. Forget about it," said the man standing. "Get up. Turn around." "What? You heard me." He rose cautiously. "Turn." He turned. "Walk." "Where?" "It doesn't matter. Away from the road." "Okay, let's think about this. You don't walk, I'll shoot you here." "I'm not walking into the woods so you can shoot me there." "Fine," said the man, and there was a rustling and Will started walking. His shoes sank into the snow. It wasn't more than ankle deep, but he made it look like it was. "Faster. I'm trying not to shoot you," said the man, "but it's getting effing difficult." He forged through the deepening snow. His mind was a great white expanse, a snowscape devoid of plans that ended with him alive. "Veer right. You're trying to angle back to the road." He veered. There were trees ahead, a thin, thick forest. He was going to be shot in the woods. His body would disappear beneath the snowfall. In the spring he would be gnawed by foxes. He would be discovered by Boy Scouts and poked with sticks. "Stop, this will do. Don't shoot me in the back," he turned, fighting snow. The man was 10 feet away, unreachable in drifts this deep. "Leave me here. I can make it to anywhere in a hurry. You can get away." The man raised the shotgun butt to his shoulder. At least have the GD common courtesy wait. Tell me why. Tell me why. You can't just shoot me. In the bathroom you said to hop, and I didn't. That meant something, didn't it? No. Don't shoot me in the face. The man exhaled. Fine, turn around. Okay, just tell me. Just let me. He pulled one foot out of the snow, put it down again. His nose ran. Mother effer, I'm shooting you in 5 seconds, said the tall man. You arrange yourself however you like between now and then. He sank to the ground because it didn't matter. I'm sorry, Cecilia. I'm sorry you died. I never said I loved you, and I should have. It's just the bare words I couldn't say, and I should have. He was going to pass out. The man would shoot his unconscious body in the snow. It was probably best. Time passed. He raised his head. The tall man was still there. What did you say? I never told Cecilia I loved her. I should have said the words. You said bare words. The silence stretched. He couldn't help himself. Are you going to shoot me? I'm thinking about it. His bowels shivered. The man lowered the shotgun. She made you forget, said the man. You really don't know who you are. Will sat in the snow, teeth chattering. New plan, said the man. Get back in the van. The world slid by in exit ramps and yellow-lit gas stations and trees dressed in snow. The van's wipers thumped. Will's eye throbbed. The driver's window was half-cranked, letting in furious air. The man glanced at him. You feel okay? You look washed out. He gestured. Your face. Theoretically, the snow banked up alongside the freeway with us a couple of feet deep. He could possibly survive a leap, then flailing through snow. Hearing the van brake behind him, the door pop open. Not so good. The man wagged a dash control. Heater doesn't work. I need the window open to keep from bogging up. Practically, it was highly unlikely he could get the door open with his feet. Practically, he wasn't going anywhere until the man decided to pull over. You actually look a little hypoglycemic, said the man. He could kick. He could try to force a crash. A problem here was the man was wearing a seatbelt and Will wasn't. A crash would therefore likely to hurt Will a lot more. It was a last resort kind of plan. Stop it, said the man. You're not going anywhere, so stop effing thinking about it. He looked out the side window. Next gas station I'll pull over, said the man. Get you some jelly beans. They turned into a glowing gas station and stopped at the farthest pump from the store. Okay, said the man. Before we proceed, some ground rules. He snapped his fingers because Will was staring at the store. No running, no screaming for help, no mouthing secret messages to the cashier, looking directly into security cameras, saying you need the bathroom, then locking yourself in, etc., etc. Doing any of those things will cause me, he rapped the shotgun, the nose of which poked out from the footwell, to use this, understand? Yes. Not on you. You, I need. I count 3 people in there. Do you want me to shoot 3 people? No. Neither do I. So don't make me shoot 3 people. He twirled a finger. Turn around. What? So I can cut the cord. His bindings loosened. He brought forward his arms against the protest of his muscles and rubbed his wrists. He felt a lot more optimistic with his hands free. Any questions? Said the man. Who are you? Tom. What? I'm Tom, said the man. You asked who I am. I'm Tom. Will said nothing. So let's get these snacks, Tom said, and opened the door. 3 other cars sat beside pumps, 2 sedans and a battered truck with Texas plates, its rear window draped with a Confederate flag. A bumper sticker read, Can't find a job? Will had thought Tom would want to fill up, but he headed for the store. The glass doors parted, and they stepped inside. There was music. The air smelled sweet. Tom stamped his feet. Woo, he said to nobody. Cold tonight. Will saw magazines and chocolate bars. A poster offered a hot dog and a slushie for just $2. How could he be kidnapped next to a deal like that? It felt wrong. He shouldn't fear for his life in a convenience store while looking at hot dogs. But he looked at Tom, and Tom was still there, with a shotgun not quite concealed beneath his coat, and Will felt nauseated and looked at the hot dogs again. That guy had almost shot him. He had been seconds away from spreading Will across the snow. Cecilia was dead. Just yell, he thought. What's the worst that could happen? He knew the answer, but it was tempting, looking at the hot dogs. Go on, said Tom. Get whatever you want. He gestured at the confectionery aisle. Will walked toward a great pyramid of hot and spicy Pringles. When he glanced back, Tom had wandered over to the magazine rack, where a man in a red-checked snow hat was staring suspiciously at shrink-wrapped women. Hi there, said Tom. That your truck? Will looked back at the Pringles. He closed a hand around one. It was firm and familiar and did not do anything unexpected, for which he felt grateful. He looked back at Tom. Tom seemed to be paying him no attention, so he kept going, and then there was a shelf between them, and he was out of sight. He felt overwhelmed by the desire to sit down, cover himself with snacks maybe, make a little fort. He kept walking. He took a bag of chocolate eggs. Then a woman's functional ponytail bobbed along in front of him, above the green and red foil snack bags. He closed his eyes. Tom was going to take him to a lonely farmhouse and kill him. It was obvious. They would find him 8 years later, buried beneath the roses, one skeleton among many, in Washington's House of Nightmares. Because Tom was a psychopath. Or possibly not. Possibly Tom was part of some kind of politically motivated group, something a little more professional and terroristic, but the point was Tom killed people. Tom had shot a girl in a blue cotton dress and reloaded and shot her again, and Cecilia had died, and although that possibly wasn't Tom's fault, not directly, the takeaway message here was that around Tom, people died. Will would either get away or he would die too. He felt calm. It was good to establish facts. It permitted the making of decisions. He was going to talk to this woman. He was sorry, but he was going to bring her into this. He would whisper a message, and if things went bad, he would defend her. That was the best he could offer. He opened his eyes. He felt sure Tom was watching him somehow, and sure enough, when he looked around, there was a corner-ceiling mirror, and Tom was in it. Tom was nodding at the man in the snow hat, who was showing him a cell phone for some reason. Will pretended to inspect potato chips. The woman's ponytail bobbed toward the end of the aisle, where a cardboard cutout lion offered free Cokes with every purchase over $4. This lion could screen him, if he timed it right. He could pass the woman at this spot and for 1 perfect second speak to her unseen. He began to move. Halfway there, the woman's ponytail stopped, and Will had to stop and eye batteries to kill time. He glanced at the mirror. Tom was still chatting to the man. Why Tom had so much to say to this guy, Will had no idea. The ponytail moved. Will moved. He spotted a second security mirror. Maybe this line wasn't going to screen him as completely as he thought, but it would only take a second to mutter, "I'm kidnapped, help, gun called 911," and he was committed now. He had made a decision not to end up beneath roses. He rounded the corner. A girl stood there, 5 or 6 years old. She was looking at the cardboard lion. Will stopped. The woman came around the corner. "Caitlin, come here." The girl ran to her mother. Will did not move. They passed him and headed up the next aisle. The girl said, "Mommy, why was that man sad?" "Shh," said the woman. He walked to the van. He was going to let this mother effer take him somewhere and kill him, apparently. That was where he was at. He felt furious at something. "Not the van," said Tom. "We're changing cars." He nodded the pickup. "Oh," Will said. Tom jangled keys. "You saved their lives." He unlocked the pickup and pulled open the door. "You made the right decision." The truck's interior smelled of cigarettes. The dash had a bobblehead doll of someone Will didn't recognize, some politician. Tom pulled at the door, and the thump of its closure was like the ceiling of a tomb. The engine turned. Air blew from vents. "Ah," said Tom, "we have heat." "You bought that guy's truck," Will said. "We swapped." Tom revved tentatively. He seemed to approve of the sound, and they began to roll past pumps, leaving behind the airport maintenance van. "Swapped," Will said. "He just agreed to trade vehicles." "Yeah?" Tom took a moment to check traffic, and then accelerated onto the slip road. He dug into his coat pocket with one hand. He also threw in this cell phone. Will looked at it. "Did he?" "Yeah," said Tom, to sweeten the deal. They re-entered the freeway. It was Cecilia's birthday next week. Will had been putting off going shopping. "Just give me money," she'd said, and he'd been thinking maybe he would, because she was so hard to buy for, but he might have thought of something. He still had a week. He might have found exactly what she wanted. He remembered Rain standing in the middle of the road, strange words she had spat through blood-stained teeth, that short man putting the gun to his own chin. He didn't understand any of that. Maybe Tom was a serial killer, or a terrorist, or a covert government agent, or something else, but whatever he was, he must want something. Will had to go shopping. "Where are we going?" Tom didn't answer. "Who was that girl?" The truck hummed. The tires sluiced through the wet road. "Why did your friend shoot himself?" "Shut up," said Tom. "I'm not talking to you. You came and got me. You must want me for something." "It's not conversation." "Then what?" Tom was silent. "Why did he call her a poet? Your friend said, 'I nailed a poet.'" Tom dug the cell phone out of his pocket. He thumbed a number and stuck the phone under one ear. "It's me. Where are you?" Will watched the dashboard figurine bobble. "I'm clear. Brecht didn't make it." There was silence. Because Wolf. Because Wolf effing turned up 5 seconds after we made contact. Will heard a tinny voice squawk from his phone, male but unfamiliar. Well, F, whose effing fault is that? Just tell me where you could meet. I want to get off the road, he exhaled. Fine, we'll be there. He dropped the phone into his pocket. Who's Wolf? Said Will. A bad person, said Tom. A bad person. Like rain? Yes. Is Wolf a poet too? Yep, said Tom, overtaking. And when you say poet, Will said, since Tom seemed to be answering questions, is that like the name of their organization, or do you mean... I mean she's good with words, Tom said. Now shut up. I'm just trying to understand. You don't need to understand. You need to sit there and not do anything stupid while I take care of you. That's what you need. Look, I get that it's been a confusing night, and I know you're all, but how is that possible? And why did he do that? But I'm not going to answer those questions, Will, because you don't have the framework to comprehend the answers. You're like a kid asking how I can see him, even though he's closed his eyes. Just accept that this is happening. Can you give me the framework? No, said Tom. Shut up. He was silent. Why did you shoot that girl? I had to. She was just lying there, Will said. She was already half dead. She was dangerous lying there half dead. Will said nothing. Okay, Tom said. You hear about that bad nightclub fire in Rome a couple months back? Bunch of people died? That was Rain. And she did it because she thought one of those people might be you. Rain wanted to kill me? Yes. Why? Because 18 months ago you survived something you shouldn't have. In Broken Hill? Yes. I don't remember that. No. What was it? What? The thing that should have killed me. Something bad, Tom said, which shouldn't have gotten out. You mean chemicals? People died in a chemical spill on Broken Hill 18 months ago? Sure, chemicals. So why do you care? Because it's out again. And I can stop it? Yes. That doesn't make sense. That's because it's not really chemicals, Tom said. Is it a word? Tom looked at him. Earlier in the snow, you were interested in something I said about words. And you said Wolf and Rain are poets because they're good with words. Tom was silent. Okay, it's a word. Which should have killed me. Yes. I don't understand how it can be a word. That's because you don't know what words are. They're sounds. No, they're not. You and I are not grunting at each other. We're transferring meaning. Neurochemical changes are occurring in your brain at this very moment because of my words. Will was silent. Like I said, Tom said. No framework. He felt lost. No one lives in Broken Hill anymore, not since the spill. No. Why did Cecilia try to kill me? It's complicated. Was she a poet? No. Then why? Rain made her. The rain made her? Not Rain. Kathleen Rain, with an E. Wrote poems about nature. Lived in England from 1908 to 2003. And she came back? Tom glanced at him. Are you serious? What? They used the names of famous poets. Oh, said Will. They're not zombies. Okay, I thought. They drove in silence. Is Woolf? Virginia Woolf, Tom said. Virginia Woolf is trying to kill me? Among others, but Woolf is the one to worry about. Why did your friend shoot himself? Because of words? We're done talking, said Tom, with finality. Will shut his mouth. The road unraveled out of the dark, and they went into it. Italian Inferno Club flouted fire code. Rome. Overcrowding contributed to the deaths of 24 people in a popular Italian nightclub. Early reports suggest the fire, believed to have been caused by faulty wiring, tore through the Paradiso Club at around 10 p.m. last Saturday night when the building was at its most packed. Reports in Italian media said a crush developed at exits to one of the club's dance floors, with patrons unable to escape and becoming overcome by smoke. All 24 people in this area are believed to have perished. Maristella Gaglioni, 18, who escaped the adjoining Musica section, described seeing a doorway filled with people. There were 2 men trying to get out, but they didn't move. They were blocking the doorway. No one could get past. The Paradiso recently completed a major renovation, during which it was granted fire certification. Italy's government inspectors are notoriously corrupt. Police have promised a full investigation. 4. Emily kept waiting for someone to pull her aside, ask what she thought she was doing, try to sneak on board with the first-class passengers, but when she reached the gate and handed over her boarding pass, the attendant smiled. Have a nice flight, Miss Ruff. Thanks. She adjusted the strap of her bag, self-conscious. The other first-class passengers were in sleek suits and expensive blouses, and Emily was wearing jeans a guy had peed on the day before. She hadn't realized everyone would be so bright and clean. "Miss Ruff," said the attendant on the plane, like he'd been waiting to meet her. "My information tells me this is the first time you've graced our airline. That cannot be true." He beckoned, leading her past banks of leather thrones. "I'm going to take extra special care of you." He leaned close and whispered, stage loud, "We need more beautiful young customers." She thought he was making fun, but he wasn't. First class was strange. "Make yourself comfortable," said the attendant, "while I rustle you out the best chocolate cookie you've ever tasted." "Okay," she said. She went to stow her bag, and the attendant looked horrified and took it from her. She slid into her seat. She had slept in smaller places than this. To her right, a woman in big sunglasses had a tall glass in one hand and a magazine in the other. She smiled at Emily, and Emily smiled back. The woman returned to her magazine. This was okay, she thought. This was okay. She heard a tinkling and reached for her bag. The flight attendant whispered, "I'm so sorry." He set a glass of water onto the armrest. The tinkling was ice cubes. "I didn't mean to wake you." She stared at the glass. When she first heard that sound, she thought someone was peeing. She deplaned. That was what they called it, deplaning. She had never heard that word before. She unbuckled and felt sad. She wanted to stay in her little first-class kingdom. She'd left a note for a friend to pass to Biddy. Had he read it yet? Was he upset? Missing her? She didn't care about this as much as she'd thought. She had realized this while gazing out at the hidden world of sunlight that lay above the clouds. She was leaving Biddy behind, and this was a good thing. She felt like she had 2 years before, when she'd walked away from a falling down house with her Pikachu bag on her back, her mom's threats and prophecies bouncing off her back, and the more she walked, the better she felt. Biddy hadn't been good. Not really. She was getting a sense of that, now that people were taking her bags and bringing her drinks while she slept. She was seeing that without Benny, she could be so much more. The attendant touched her arm at the exit. "Thank you so much." "Thank you so much," she said. In arrival stood a driver, complete with hat and uniform, holding a printed sign reading, "Emily Ruff." "I'm Emily," she said. She reached for her bag. She hesitated, but let him take it. She needed to get used to that. "I'm very pleased to meet you, miss. I have a car out front." "Was your flight bearable?" "Yes." She fell into step. She felt kind of stupid about the Pokemon bag. It looked ridiculous on this guy's trolley. But he didn't seem to mind. People glanced at her. This dirty girl with with a uniformed driver, and she tried not to smile so as not to ruin it. He held open a door for her. Outside was bright and cold. A long liquid black limousine lay spread along the curb. The driver opened the rear door, and she climbed inside it like it was nothing. Did she want a drink? To watch TV? Because she could do that. There was enough room to lie down. She could live here. The driver entered. The locks thunked. "No rain expected. You come to us on a good day." "I thought it was a good day," she said. "I felt that." They drove for 40 minutes and stopped at the set of high steel plate gates. Through the limo's dark glass, she saw grass and gigantic trees. The driver spoke to someone in a guardhouse. The gates parted. As they moved up the hill, a building appeared. "It's an old convent," said the driver. "There were nuns here for 100 years." The car pulled around the front of the building, its tires crunching gravel. A man came down steps toward them. A porter. That was what he was. "Beautiful, isn't it?" "Yes." "They'll take you from here." He turned in his seat to face her. She liked that, the way people were turning to talk to her. "Best of luck with your examinations, miss." The porter led her to a room with high ceilings and wood-paneled walls and 10,000 books. A sitting room, she guessed, because she had heard of those and couldn't think what else this room was for. Maybe nothing. Maybe after a certain size a building had more rooms than uses. She squeezed her bag between her ankles and tried to relax. Occasionally she heard a door close, thunk, and murmurs of conversation and laughter that floated up a corridor somewhere. She kind of needed to pee. A woman's heels rapped outside. The door cracked open. For a second, Emily thought it was a nun, but it was just a woman in a dark blue suit. She had nuns on the brain. The woman was slim, maybe 35, with dark hair and delicate glasses. She came toward Emily with her hand extended and her fingers down. A lady handshake. Emily got off the chair to take it. "Hello, Emily. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Charlotte." "Hi," she said. Charlotte settled into a chair. Emily returned to hers. They seemed a long way apart. A rug lay between them like a map of some undiscovered world. In a moment I'll show you to your room, Charlotte said, but first I'm sure you must have questions. She did. Like, what was with that Lee guy? And why me? And these examinations, what are they exactly? But she didn't ask them. The thing was, if these questions had bad answers, it was going to be really disappointing. We have 6 of you this week, said Charlotte, deciding to answer questions Emily hadn't asked. 6 applicants, that is. You each have your own room, of course. Yours overlooks the Eastwood. I think you'll enjoy it. There's a central dining room where you'll be served meals, and you'll find a recreation room at the end of the hall, and a reading room beside that. Between examinations, please do feel free to explore the grounds. It's a wonderful space. It was once a convent, I heard. If you leave the new wing, you may bump into some of our current students going about their lessons. They are under instructions not to speak to you, so please don't interpret this as rudeness, she smiled. Okay, she said. I must ask that you observe 2 rules for the duration of the examinations. You are not to leave the grounds, nor use the phones. These rules are quite important. Do you find them acceptable? Yes. Good. She patted her lap like she wanted a cat to sit there. Well then, for the rest of the day you may simply settle in, meet your fellow applicants, enjoy the facilities. The examinations will begin in the morning. I do have a question, Emily said. What's the catch? Charlotte's eyebrows rose. She had good eyebrows, like whips. I beg your pardon? Well, she gestured to the room, this is kind of unbelievably good. I mean, I appreciate it, but if you're going to ask me to shave my head or take my clothes off or something, I'd like to know. Charlotte suppressed a smile. We're not a cult, I promise. We're a school. We bring the best and brightest here to help them reach their potential. Right, Emily said. You seem unconvinced. It doesn't look like a school. Actually, it looks very much like a school. You may think otherwise because your experience has been limited to government-run child farms. She leaned forward and whispered conspiratorially, To me, those do not look very much like schools. Emily wasn't sure how to respond. Charlotte rose to her feet. Well, let me show you to your room. She picked up her bag. I still think there's a catch. Charlotte pursed her lips. If there must be a catch, we do only admit those who pass the examinations, which are difficult. I'll pass, Charlotte smiled. Well, then, she said, there's no catch. She followed Charlotte through wood-paneled corridors and halls with bar-off ceilings. She had never seen so many arches. Charlotte tapped a door with her fingernail. My office. A copper nameplate was engraved C. Bronte. Come to me with any questions or concerns, day or night. There were more corridors. Through tall, slitted windows she glimpsed kids in dark blue uniforms with hats and blazers. Maybe it did look like a school. Charlotte stopped outside a heavy wooden door. Your room. There was a small bed, a high arched window, one old desk with a high-backed chair. The walls were stone, patches worn smooth by the palms of restless nuns. A few of the others are about, said Charlotte. But I'll let you find them in your own time, she smiled, one hand draped on the door handle. Dinner will be called at 6. The door closed. Emily let her bag drop. She went to the window and studied the mechanism until she figured out how to swing open the glass in 2 panels. She leaned out. A breeze tugged her hair. Woods was right. The trees were like pillars. You could get lost in there, find a gingerbread house, meet a witch. She needed the bathroom. She could have to find some of the other kids, check out the competition. But she stood a while and watched the trees because even if this whole deal turned out to be a scam, this moment here was really nice. She peed and washed her hands and steadied herself in the mirror. Her hair was like straw. She was wearing an outfit that looked worse the fancier her environment became, and didn't smell terrific either. But aside from this, she did not seem completely out of place. She could possibly believe she was a person who regularly peed in bathrooms with 20-foot ceilings and then went out of her house. Relax, she told the mirror, because her eyes were tense. She followed sounds of a television too small to a small room with sofas and cushions and a boy spread across them. He sat up as she entered. His hair was very curly. His clothes were new and bright, and his collar was turned up. If they had something in common, she couldn't see it. His eyes moved over her. He was probably thinking the same thing. Hey, he said. Hi, who are you? A guy, on a sofa. He smiled. She hated him already. You're here for the tests? Yeah. Just a ride? Yeah. From where? San Francisco. Right, he said. And, where in San Francisco? He smiled again. That upturned collar. What was that? Street. He looked blank. V. she said. The street. You know, the street. He shook his head. I don't know. Yeah, I see that. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend. I mean, what is it to you, do? He twirled a finger indicating the room. They don't bring you here for no reason. I'm a magician. I entertain. Really, he said, you don't strike me as the entertaining type. You don't strike me as someone who knows jack about crap, she said, because she was starting to get a little intimidated by his wording. Why are you here? He grinned. His teeth were really something. New England Schools Debating Conference, finals. He waited for a response. I'm good. Are you? She said. She showered and redressed. Where she'd come from, it was fine to wear the same clothes for days at a time. That meant you were busy following life's opportunities, but she could see that here it was going to become an issue. She pulled on her jacket at least, which was furry and had little biker studs that made fun of anyone mentioned them, but secretly thought were awesome. She brushed her hair until most of the knots were gone and clipped it out of her face. She had a faint memory of mascara left in her makeup bag and scrapped together what she could to give herself smoky eyes. She had lost her deodorant somewhere, but she had soaped up in the shower. The reality was she smelled better than she had in a while. A bell rang somewhere, an honest bell, like a musical instrument. She opened her door to faces peering out in the doorways. They were all young, mostly female. Chow time, said a black girl across the hall, and there were titters. The dining hall table had 7 places set on a tablecloth the size of a bedsheet, but there were still miles of glowing wood stretching away at either end. The curly-haired boy came in, joking with a girl she hadn't met, and sat opposite. She thought he might look at her, but he didn't. She tried to figure out the cutlery. A girl no more than 10 climbed onto a chair beside her. Emily said hi, and the girl said hi back, shyly. On her other side, a pretty girl with angel blonde hair slid into a seat. The curly-haired boy looked at the blonde girl and away and then back at Emily and thought, yeah, okay. Charlotte, whom Emily still vaguely thought of as a nun, moved around the table, chatting briefly to each of them. Bread was served, soup. The 10-year-old stared hopelessly at her spoons, and Emily tried to help with educated guesses based on what everyone else was using. I love your jacket, said the angelic blonde girl. It's so authentic. Oh, she said. I like your ears. My ears? Emily admitted that as an insult, but now she realized the angel girl was serious. The girl had seriously tried to compliment her jacket. Yeah, they're like a fairy's. She elbowed the 10-year-old. Fairy ears, right? Yes. Oh, said the angel girl. Well, thank you. There were silver plates with bite-sized constructions of meat and bread and paste and whatever. She picked one up only because it got her out of this conversation. It was actually not bad. Weird, but not bad weird. This was her whole day, on a cracker. Charlotte rose and gave a short speech about how happy she was to have them here, and she hoped they would seize the opportunity with 2 hands because each of them had great potential, and the Academy was dedicated to unlocking it. Then she said they should sleep well because the first examination would begin early, and the curly-haired boy asked what it would be, and Charlotte smiled and said that it could be answered by the morning. Those were her words. Answered by the morning. You would get your head kicked in talking away in Emily's world. But she was kind of enjoying it. On the pier, under her floppy hat, she used words to make people smile and come closer and give her $2 and not care about losing. Good words were the difference between Emily eating well and not. And what she had found worked best were not facts or arguments, but words that tickled people's brains for some reason, that just amused them. Puns and exaggerations and things that were true and not at the same time. Answered by the morning. Words like that. Afterward, they filed back to their rooms, and she brushed her teeth, alongside a girl from Connecticut. Everyone but her had pajamas. On her way to bed, a voice floated down the hallway. Good night, girl in the doorway. Night, boy on a sofa, she said, and closed her door. She couldn't believe she had just said that. He was trouble, this boy, but the good kind. In the morning, they were all sat in the hall and given forms. The first question she recognized. Was she a cat person or a dog person? What was her favorite color? Did she love her family? Even the weird one was right there. Why did you do it? It was at the very top of the page, and the rest was nothing but endless lines. Please answer with complete honesty, said Charlotte. She moved between their desks, echoes of her heels bouncing between the floor and ceiling. Anything less will not serve you well. They asked her favorite movies, songs, books. She hadn't read a book since she was 8. She glanced around. The 10-year-old was 3 desks behind. Her feet didn't even reach the floor. Emily twirled her pen. She wrote, Princess Lily saves the world. It was the only one she could remember. Charlotte collected the papers and disappeared for a while. People leaned across aisles and compared answers. She noticed a man in the corridor, tall with brown skin and eyes like rocks, watching them through the glass. She felt flustered for some reason and looked away. When she looked back, he was gone. Charlotte returned with a TV on a trolley. You will be shown a series of rapidly changing images. One of the images will be a type of food. You are to write down the name of the food. Are there any questions? She looked around. Very well, good luck. Emily picked up her pencil. Charlotte pressed a button on the VCR. On the screen, text appeared. Series 1-1, then faded away. There was a second screen. There was a second of blackness. Then a jumble of images flashed by and was gone. Emily blinked. The screen said, End of Series 1-1. Heads bent over desks. Emily looked at her paper. That had been a lot faster than she'd expected. What had she seen? A laughing face? A family around a table? People kissing, grass, a cow, a glass of milk? She wasn't sure, which was strange because she was observant. She had quick eyes. So why wasn't she sure about the milk? She glanced around. Everyone but her was writing. She chewed her lip. She wrote, Milk. Pens down, please. She glanced around. The curly-haired boy next to her had sushi. She felt cold. Had there been sushi? Maybe. She looked left. The angel girl. Sushi. Charlotte prowled the desks. Yes, she said, passing a boy at the front. Yes, yes. She stopped at Emily. No. Emily exhaled. Yes, yes. No. She turned to see who else had effed up. It was a 10-year-old who looked devastated. Before she hid her paper, Emily saw milk. Series 2, said Charlotte. Obviously, what she'd done wrong was let herself be misled by the other images. Breakfast, a cow, and there had been a glass, but empty. Her brain had filled that in. She was too imaginative, and the reason she didn't get sushi was she didn't know what the F sushi looked like. She kind of remembered now, but it wasn't exactly a familiar food. Those other guys probably ate sushi twice a week with caviar and quail and whatever the paste was on the crackers yesterday. Pate, that. She would get the next one. Images flickered. The screen blanked. Terror gripped her. There had been a banana. Definitely a banana. But also a sun, which kind of looked like a banana, and at the start she'd caught a glimpse of what might have been a fish. She had definitely seen palm trees and an ocean. She wasn't sure about the fish or the banana. The banana could have been an after image of the sun. Why were there palm trees? Was that random, or was it trying to make her think of fish? She squeezed her pen. She wrote, Fish. Answers, please. She looked around. The curly-haired boy. Banana. The angel girl. Banana. The 10-year-old. Fish. Yes, yes, yes. Charlotte reached her no. She had outsmarted herself. She should have trusted her instincts. She didn't want to meet the curly-haired boy's eyes, but couldn't stop herself. His eyes were closed as if he was focusing, clearing his mind. D, she thought, but maybe she should do that. Series 3. The screen barfed images. This time it talked, which took her by surprise. A man said, red. An old woman laughed, and was that a strawberry? No, a blood spot. It ended. She had definitely seen ice cream in a cone. She wrote that down before she could second-guess herself. She covered her paper with her hands and stared holes in the girl in front of her. The curly-haired boy put down his pen. She couldn't see his paper, so she mouthed, Ice cream? His eyebrows rose. She didn't know what that meant. She felt a surging desire to pick up her pen and write something else, but she hadn't seen anything but ice cream. Answers, please. The curly-haired boy moved his hands. Strawberry. Double F, she said. She didn't bother to look at the others. Charlotte reached her and confirmed that she had gotten it wrong again. There were 2 more no's. Along with her and the 10-year-old, a skinny guy in the back had messed up. Emily was glad for this, but mostly furious. Given $10 to each of the people in this room, wait 2 hours and Emily would have it all. Drop them on the street with no cash and no place to sleep. She would be the one with her crap together 24 hours later. These tests, though, were making her feel like a moron. Series 4. F you, she thought. She looked at the screen, but her heart wasn't in it. It was the longest sequence yet. When it ended, she looked at her paper and thought, I have no idea. The girl in front of her let out an explosive sneeze. It was the kind of thing Biddy would do when she wanted a moment's distraction without thinking. She flicked her eyes right. Beneath the curly-haired boy's arm, APR. The rest was obscured. "Bless you," said the angel. Someone tittered. "Quiet," said Charlotte. She couldn't think of a food that started with APR. She was mentally stuck on apple. Could he have written app? If she couldn't think of an APR food in 5 seconds, she was going with apple. Charlotte opened her mouth. Emily sprawled, "Apricot." "Answers, please." She glanced right. "Yes." Charlotte began to walk the desks. "Yes. Yes. Yes." By the time she reached Emily, Emily had noticed a problem. The boy had apricots. She was short in S. Charlotte paused. Emily said nothing. "Come on," she thought. "Apricot, apricots, what's the difference?" "Yes," said Charlotte. She glowed. This was what she should have been doing from the beginning. This was how she'd accomplished everything her whole life, by skirting the rules. She should not have forgotten that. Yes. Yes. No. Charlotte walked to the front and turned off the TV. "Thank you. This concludes the first examination. Please enjoy the rest of the day." People began to talk, rising from their desks. "Gertie, remain behind, please." Emily looked at the 10-year-old. The kid looked miserable, so Emily leaned over. "It's just a stupid test." She'd been wrong about this girl's age. Gertie wasn't even 10. "Don't worry about it." "Emily Reff," said Charlotte. "You may go." "You're just too young," Emily said. "I was here a couple years back, and failed everything. Next year you'll smash it." Gertie looked at her hopefully. "Thank you, Emily," said Charlotte. She gave Gertie a wink on the way out, the kind that tickled people on the pier. "Thought you were history," said the curly-haired boy. She had been passing by his room, but now she stopped. He was splayed on his bed. The angel girl was in there, leaning against the stone wall. Just warming up, she went to move on, but the girl peeled herself from the wall. "Hey, I want your opinion. Why do the teachers here have fake names?" Emily looked at her, confused. "Charlotte Bronte, there's a teacher named Robert Lowell, and a Paul Auster, too. Did you see the main board in the lobby? It says before Bronte, the headmistress was Margaret Atwood." She raised her eyebrows. "And?" said Emily. "They're famous poets," said the boy. "Dead famous poets, mostly." He looked at the angel girl, amused. She didn't know. "Like I sit around memorizing poets," Emily said. "That's why I'm going to destroy you in the tests, because everything you know is useless." The boy grinned. The girl said, "It's okay," in a tone that made Emily want to hit her. "And the school has no name. They just call it the Academy. Kinda weird, yes?" "You're kinda weird," she said. Gertie didn't come back. "The tests are eliminations," said the curly-haired boy, through a mouthful of red bread. This was at lunch. He had taken Gertie's seat. "Fail one, that's it. Pack your bags." She paused midway through buttering a roll. "Who told you that?" "No one. I figured it out. It's obvious, don't you think?" He chewed and chewed. Charlotte came in during lunch and looked at Emily in a way Emily didn't like. Then she left. Emily continued eating, but her stomach formed a hard ball. Afterward, Charlotte and another teacher were waiting for her in the corridor. It reminded Emily of San Francisco, where you'd step in the front door of your squat, and there'd be two skinny women there, hips jutting, lips like cats, trembling with righteous outrage about something or other, some debt or thing you did. Charlotte beckoned. "Emily, if you please." Her heels clacked down the hall. In her office, Charlotte gestured at a chair. The office was larger than Emily had thought. It had doors to other rooms, one of which Charlotte must sleep in, since she'd said to come see her any time of day. It had a single window that looked into a courtyard, and a messy desk on which stood a vase of fresh flowers. "I'm disappointed." "Are you?" she said. "We gave you a sizable opportunity. You will never know how great." "I don't know what you're talking about." "The examination room is monitored. Carefully." "I see," Emily said. There was silence. "So you're saying I did something wrong in some way?" "Cheating? Yes, that was wrong." "Well, you should have said that. You should have said, actually, we had 3 rules. The third one is don't cheat." "You think that bears stating?" "That guy in San Francisco who sent me here, Lee, he knew I cheated people. That's what I do. I'm a hustler. You bring me here, but suddenly I can't cheat? You never said that." "I said honest answers were essential." "In the test before, not the video test." "This isn't up for discussion," Charlotte said. "A driver is coming to collect you. Please collect your things." "Well," she said, F. "You may have been promised compensation for your time here." "Unfortunately, that will not apply due to the cheating." "You B." Charlotte's face didn't change. Emily had expected some kind of reaction from someone so nunnish. She had assumed Charlotte was quietly furious, the way people got when you broke one of their made-up rules, but the truth was Charlotte didn't seem to care. "You may go. Forget the driver. I don't want anything from you." She got up. "The airport is 20 miles. The driver, F your driver," she said. She went to her room and stuffed clothes into her Pikachu bag. Until this point she had felt nothing but anger, but abruptly she was heartbroken and shaky with tears. She threw the bag over her shoulder and banged into the corridor, but she didn't... Sorry. "Hey!" It was the curly-haired boy. "What happened? Where are you going?" But she didn't answer, and he didn't come after her. There was no sign of a driver, and she began to trudge down the driveway. About 1,000 windows looked onto her back. She imagined eyes in each one. But that was silly. The fact was nobody would care. She would be gone 5 minutes, and they would forget she existed, because the place made more sense without her. Halfway down the driveway, a car crunched up behind her. "Emily Ruff, I don't want a driver." "I'm not..." She heard the handbrake crank. The door opened. "I'm not a driver." It was a tall man she'd seen through the glass during their test. "My name is Elliot. Please come back to the house." "I've been evicted." "Hold up a second. Stop." She stopped. The man scrutinized her. He had a stillness about him which made him hard to read. "You cheated. Your defense is that nobody said you couldn't." "I agree. Go back to the house." "I don't want to go back to the house." "Why not?" "Because I'm not going to make it, okay? It's pretty clear that everyone here but me is incredibly smart and knows, like, names of poets, so thanks for the opportunity." She started walking again. He matched her pace. "There are two types of exams. The first tests your ability to withstand persuasion. The second measures your ability to persuade. This is more important, and from what I've seen, you have a good shot at those." Charlotte said, "It's not up to Charlotte." She looked back at the school. It was kind of tempting. "It would be a shame to never discover what you were capable of." He shrugged. "My opinion." "Oh, fine," she said. She returned to her room and dumped her bag. She didn't think she'd have to wait long, and she was right. The curly-haired boy came in and looked at her angrily. "I thought you left." "I changed my mind." "Or someone changed it for you?" He folded his arms. "They only take one of us." The angel girl appeared in the doorway. Emily said, "They only take one?" "I never heard that," said the angel girl. "On the last day, if there's more than one candidate left, you have to persuade the other to quit. That's how you make it." "I never heard that," said the girl, "and I say, welcome back, Emily." "You're an idiot," said the boy. "You're an a-hole," said the girl. The boy looked at her. "You might as well leave now. I bet you're persuasive as H to people who know your parents. In student council, you're a queen, but you're only here because it's supposed to be the best. And that's what good little girls do. They do their best." The girl's cheeks flamed. "Is this supposed to make me quit?" "I already know how to make you quit. Have Daddy call and say he misses you." The girl turned and left. Emily heard her feet slapping down the corridor. She looked at the boy. "This school is mine," he said. Early next morning, Charlotte drove her downtown. She barely spoke, and Emily was still somewhat peed, so it was a quiet journey. They pulled into a parking garage, and Charlotte killed the engine. Emily unbuckled, but Charlotte didn't move. "Elliot thinks you're worth persisting with," Charlotte said to the rearview mirror. "It seems pointless to me, but occasionally he sees things." Emily kept her mouth shut. Usually this examination is administered by a junior staff member. Charlotte popped open the glove box and applied big sunglasses. They made her look elegant and sexy, not like a nun at all. "But since you are so allegedly bursting with potential, I wanted to see for myself." She led Emily to a nondescript street corner, where there was a grocer, a newspaper stand, and a dog tied to a non-standing pole. One of those things was important, Emily figured. Charlotte glanced at her watch. It was early, but the sun was peeking above the buildings and seemed exciting to be there. If they were going to hang around here, Emily should lose the jacket. "Our purpose today is to test your lexicon," Charlotte said, "by which I mean your array of useful words." This did not clarify anything for Emily. "Are you ready?" "Sure," she said. Charlotte's sunglasses swung to the far sidewalk, which was empty. They waited. "A whore is one who desires. The word is Proto-Indo-European, from the same root as love. Did you know that?" "No." "Today the word is used to describe any person who can be persuaded, most obviously by money for sex, but also more generally. One may whore oneself by performing any kind of vaguely unpleasant act in exchange for reward. Emily shifted from one foot to the other. A similar word is proselyte, typically used in a religious sense to denote a person converting from one faith to another. Like a whore, a proselyte is persuaded to perform an act. The difference is that a whore does what she knows is wrong for reward, while a proselyte does what she has been persuaded to believe is right. She glanced at Emily. You are to remain within 3 feet of where you currently stand. If you move beyond that radius, you fail the examination. You are to persuade people on that side of the road to cross to this side. You may not use the same method of persuasion more than once per person or group. Each person or group you fail to persuade is a strike. After 3 strikes, the test ends. You begin now. Emily stared. Charlotte nodded to the far sidewalk. A girl in a tracksuit was jogging down it. For a moment Emily froze. Then she yelled, "Hey! Hello!" She waved her arms. The jogger pulled earbuds out of her ears. "Can you come here, please? It's very important." The woman looked annoyed, but she stopped, checked the traffic, and headed across the road. "Non-specific anonymous verbal summons," said Charlotte, retreating to the shade of a clothes store awning. "1." The jogger reached her, blond and sweaty. "Yeah? Sorry," said Emily. "I thought you were somebody else." The woman gave her a dirty look and plugged her earbuds back in. Emily felt sweat on the back of her neck. "How many do I need to pass?" "I'm afraid I can't divulge that, but if you're interested, the record is 36. "Elliot, actually. Attention, please. Here comes another." Emily pulled off her jacket and dropped it to the sidewalk. "John!" she yelled. "John! Hey, John!" The man on the opposite sidewalk paused. When he realized she was talking to him, he looked amused and shook his head. "What?" She held her hand behind her ear. "Can't hear you, John. I'm not John." "What? I'm not—" He gave up and detoured toward her. "Verbal summons by name," said Charlotte. 2. 3 women climbed out of a car, talking and laughing. "Hey, free outfits," Emily said. "First 3 customers." Their heads turned. Emily pointed at the clothes store. "Up to $200 per customer. Verbal promise of material reward by proxy. 3. The man reached her, smiling gently. "I think you've confused me with somebody else." "Oh, yeah." Over his shoulder, a mother holding the hand of a young boy headed for the grocer. "Sorry about that." Ma'am, I need to talk to you about your son." The woman glanced at her, then away. "Ma'am, there is something wrong with your son." "Did you say free outfits?" one of the trio asked her. She had a stud in her nose and outrageous mascara. "Ma'am," Emily yelled at the mother, "there's a real serious problem with your son. I'm not joking." The mother turned in to the grocer. Emily could read tension in her neck. She'd heard but chosen to ignore her. She looked at Charlotte. "That's only 1 strike, right? Because they were together?" "Correct. 1 strike." "I don't see any signs," said the mascara woman. "Do we just go in, or—" "Yeah, go in." The middle-aged man was leaving, looking disappointed. She guessed he wanted to be John. But coming down the far sidewalk was a gaggle of college-age boys in baggy pants and muscle shirts. She opened her mouth, almost reused a method, then dropped to one knee. "Ow! Crap! Ow!" The boys' heads turned. She pretended to try to rise. "Crap! Help!" At 8:30 she removed her t-shirt. Beneath it she had a plain bra. She hesitated, then unhooked it. Her skin puckered. She waved to a group of boys gaping across the street. They looked at each other, laughed, and came within 2 feet of being cleaned up by a sedan on their way over. Emily glanced at Charlotte. "This is allowed, right? Nonverbal sexual invitation, 19. She thought she heard a tone. "Are you disappointed?" "Actually," said Charlotte, "I'm surprised you waited this long." "Check it," snickered one of the boys. They clustered 10 feet away at the edge of the street, as if afraid to come any closer. "Hey," she said, "do me a favor. Go to that corner and don't let anyone past you. Make everyone come over here." "What for?" said one. Another said, "I want to stay and look at your titties." This cracked them up for a while. They were pretty young. "I'll make it worth your while." There was a man coming, a big guy with a shaved head and a black undershirt. "Real nice, personal." She didn't know what she was saying. The boys headed across the street. She pulled her t-shirt back on to avoid breaking the rule about reusing a technique. Charlotte said, "I hope you're aware that should your proxies redirect multiple groups, that will count as a duplicate method of persuasion, and therefore a strike." "Oh, crap!" The boys were talking animatedly to the shaved head man, pointing at her. Behind them, a small group of elderly women approached. "Crap! 20. said Charlotte, as the man with the shaved head crossed the street. Persuasion by proxy. That's enough, she yelled at the boys. Go away now. But they were focused on the old woman. You Dees? The man with the shaved head reached her. His face was guarded. She had no idea what the boys had told him. Her bra was lying on the concrete. She noticed she had forgotten it. You okay? They attacked me. She picked up her bra and clutched it to her chest. Those boys! While the man with the shaved head was beating up the boys, she got her bra back on. She pulled her hair free of the back of her t-shirt. The old woman had backed up to the far corner and were waiting for the lights to cross. The sidewalk was otherwise empty. She had a minute. Charlotte said, Diversion by physical threat. 21. OMG, she yelled, because a pair of middle-aged women were coming now. It's Demi Moore! The women stopped. Emily pointed at Charlotte. Can I have your autograph? Charlotte's lips twitched. There is a similarity, Emily said. Attraction by feigned celebrity, I suppose. 22. What's a pass again? Charlotte's sunglasses regarded her. 5. 5, Emily echoed. She felt good. A teenage girl in big headphones rounded the corner, heading down the sidewalk. Emily had no idea what she was going to say to the little whore, but it was something. She opened her mouth. Know your friends. Question 6 of 10. Are you a cat person or a dog person? Cat. Dog. Next question. Send this questionnaire to your friends. See your friends' results. Like. Know your friends. 5. They left the freeway and passed through a series of snow-sunk towns. Will fell asleep without meaning to and woke from guns and blood and dead girls. There was drool on his chin. In the high beams the road glittered and vanished into night thick as a blanket. Where are we? Safe. Tom peered at the road. Almost. They were slowing. The pickup truck's lights swung across the driveway. Will saw a wire fence and wooden posts and a sign that said, McCormack and Sons Stock Sales. They came to a stop and pickup gargled. Tom said. What? Do you trust me? Do I trust you? I phrased that badly, Tom said. I mean, I tell you your life depends on doing exactly as I say without hesitation. Can I rely on you to do it? Sure, Will said. Then, because that didn't sound very plausible, added, maybe. That's not really good enough. Maybe leaves you, maybe, alive. I thought we were meeting your friends. We are. So what's the problem? Tom gazed at the sign. Nothing. There's no problem. He harassed the gear shift. The truck rolled into the driveway. It was thick with mud, dark tire tracks, clearly visible. Tom pushed them forward 200 yards, then paused at a fork. To the left, the road disappeared into darkness. To the right, there was a bare light on a pole. Within its sphere of illumination lay nothing but mud. Tom steered towards it. Their tires slipped briefly, found traction. What is this place? Metal railings appeared beside them for a while, then vanished again. They entered an open expanse of mud. The ground seemed oddly chewed up. They reached the pole and came to a halt. The engine idled. Tom pressed a button. The doors went ka-chunk. He took the shotgun from the footwell and laid it across his lap. What are you doing? Quiet. There's no noise but the engine. Should I have a gun? Tom glanced at him. If we're in danger and I'm doing what you say, then how about I have a gun? That would increase the danger, Tom said, to me. He peered into the dark. Will saw motion in the darkness. A man ran toward him, waving his arms. His jacket blew. He had long, straggly hair. He reached the truck and slapped the hood, grinning. Will's window whirred down. Hey, G.D., said the long-haired man. Is this him? This really him? Where are the others? Tom said. Inside. The man's eyes crawled over Will. Holy crap, I cannot believe you found him. I can't see an inside. There's a house. The man gestured into the dark, his eyes not leaving Will. Get out of the truck. I'll take you in. Where can I put the truck? Don't worry about the truck. Leave it. We're gone in 10 minutes. The man tried Will's door handle. Let's move. Why'd you come running out like that? I'm excited, Elliot. I'm psyched. He tried the door again. This is what I've been working for. This gives us a effing chance, he grinned. Tom's head turned, examining the darkness. Will didn't know what he was looking for. We have the plane. Fueled up, sitting on a strip out back. We've got drugs. We've got a big effing probe. 20 minutes, we're in the air and pulling this guy's head open. The man looked at him. Nothing personal, but we need what's in there more than you do. He tried to wrap Will's head with his knuckles. Man, I could kiss you. Tom said, You realize how much emotion you're displaying right now? The long-haired man looked at him. Then he lunged at Will, grabbing his head his fingers raking his skin. He forced his shoulders inside the car. His shoes scrabbled at the door. Tom hit the gas. The truck lurched forward. The long-haired man yelped and slipped, and for a second Will thought he was going to be dragged right out of the car. Then the fingers lost their grip on his head and neck, and the man disappeared. "F," he said. "What's happening?" "Bad things," said Tom. "That's your friend?" "No, not at the moment." Metal gleamed ahead. It was railing, the same kind that had guided them down the driveway. For a moment, Will thought Tom was going to try and smash through it. Then he swung in a semicircle. The railing curved endlessly. "Oh, I see," said Tom. "We're in a pen." "A pen? A cattle yard." He backed the truck around. Now they were facing the light pole. The long-haired man shambled out of the light toward them. Tom shifted gears. The pickup's wheels spun in mud. "Oh," said Will. "Oh, wait, no." The long-haired man grew in the windshield. At the last moment, Tom jagged left, and the long-haired man thumped against the side of the truck. In the red glow of taillights, Will saw him pick himself up out of the mud and begin to shamble after them. "You hit your friend," Will said. Tom braked. Will caught himself. He looked at Tom. "What are you doing?" Tom didn't answer. "Your friend is coming. Stop calling him my friend. Well, that effing guy is coming. He's 20 feet away." Tom's eyes flicked to the mirror. "Seriously, time to go." The long-haired man slapped the rear window. He ran to Will's door and tried to tug it open with one hand. The other hung at a broken angle. The man gave a frustrated cry. His fingers scrabbled against the glass. His eyes kept moving to Will, tight and hungry. "The driveway is a funnel," said Tom. "So let's—" The man threw his head against the glass with a crack. "Let's try something, you know." Tom didn't respond. The man head-butted the window again. "Please, Tom, don't make me sit here and watch this guy kill himself against the window." Light flared ahead. Will shielded his eyes. Something coughed and snarled. "Aha," said Tom. "What is that?" "Truck." Tom shifted into reverse and threw an elbow over the seat. "Big truck." Ahead, the lights shivered. The snarl rose to a throaty roar. The man with the straggly hair fell to the mud again and rose again. They swung in a half circle, and Tom threw them into a drive. As they bounced away from the driveway, Will saw darkness coalesce into a shape. It was an animal transport as large as a house, a grill like a grin. Smoke belched from twin exhausts above its cabin. As it moved into the pen, light fell across bright red cursive script on its front. "Faithful Bethany." "We have to get out of here." Their headlights bounced off metal railing. "Can we break through that?" "No." Tom hauled the wheel. "How do you know? Maybe we can break—" "If we could break through." They would have chosen somewhere else. The transport filled the windshield. Tom accelerated toward it. What are you? He threw out his hands. Tom yanked the wheel. The pickup jumped. The transport clipped them, and everything leaned and spun. Then the tires bit. They accelerated toward the driveway and freedom beyond for 10 glorious seconds, and then Tom braked again. Will, who had been straining forward, hit the dash and fell back in his seat. The pickup came to a halt in the driveway mouth. There were lumps in the mud. Big lumps. People, he saw. 3 people sitting. Who are they? He looked at Tom. Poets? No. Why are they just sitting there? A woman had a short black bob. Behind her was a teenage boy, then an older man with white hair. They were looking at the pickup, their faces washed out by its lights not moving. Light grew within the cabin. Will turned. The transport vehicle had completed a slow turn and was trundling toward them. "You be," Tom said, like he was pointing out the sights. "You murderous GDB." "Tom." "The truck." Tom revved the pickup's engine, but did not shift gear. "The truck, Tom." Tom hauled the wheel. They accelerated alongside the railing, heading back into the pen. They gained speed and passed the transport's churning wheels. The straggly-haired man appeared. Tom jerked the wheel, but they were going too fast, and he bounced off the hood and over the roof. Railing appeared ahead. It looked as if Tom was going to try and crash through it, but Will knew this couldn't be the case because Tom had said that was impossible. Then he realized it was and closed his eyes. The world lifted. He became an object, a thing with no control over its motion. The ground revolved and unexpectedly slapped him, and everything went quiet. He swallowed. He blinked. These were things he could do. He tried to move his head, but the gravity was wrong. It was tugging him sideways. He went to rub his eyes and missed. A lot was wrong with the situation. He wasn't sure where to start. "Gug," said Tom. Tom was leaning over the steering wheel. He must be having some problems with gravity, too, because he was above Will's head. Maybe that was why he was hanging on to the wheel. Lights moved across the dash. Not good lights, Will recalled. He fumbled at his seatbelt, got it, and fell against his door. The window was painted white. It took him a moment before he identified it as snow. Snow on the ground. The pickup was lying on its side. He tried the handle just in case, but the ground didn't move. We have to go. Tom wasn't holding onto the steering wheel, he realized. The wheel had come out of the dash and was holding Tom. Are you okay? What do I do? Gug. He got a foot on the dash and strained past Tom for the driver's side door. When he did this, his shoulder collected Tom's face and his knee went into Tom's ribs and Tom groaned. But he got his arms out of the truck and levered his body into the freezing night air. The animal transport was completing a turn, its lights sweeping the ground. Hey, Tom, I'll lift you out. Tom shook his head. Come on, you need to get out of here. Light splashed him. He looked up. Silhouetted before the transport was a shambling figure, the man. His arms hung, one leg dragged. He reached a torn place where they had made in the cattle yard's railing and began a painful climb through. That guy is coming. Gug. Tom's head bobbed toward the footwell. Will saw the butt of the shotgun. Not Gug, he realized. Gun. I'm not going to shoot people. Let me help you out. Gun. The straggly-haired man negotiated the wrecked railing and began to wade through the snow. That would become a lot easier soon, Will saw, because in about 10 feet there was a nice cleared path where the pickup had returned to earth and started sliding. The snow there was red, drenched by the pickup's taillights. Take it, said Tom. No, the straggly-haired man reached for the rear of the pickup and began to climb. Will heard his shoes scraping against the tailpipe. I'm not going to murder him. Hands slapped against the tailgate. The man's head appeared. Crap, Will said, and pulled the shotgun from the door. He raised it to his shoulder and set it there. Stop, you a-hole. Shoo him, Tom said. The man's torso flopped onto the side of the pickup's bed. He swung a leg up, and Will saw the jeans were dark with blood, the denim poking out in odd places. The man strained. His leg slipped off the pickup, and he began trying to swing it up again. Stop effing climbing. Safety, said Tom. Button. On side. I'm Australian. I know how to use a shotgun. He took a hand off the gun, squeezed it into a fist for circulation. Stop, you mother effer. The man rose on one leg and balanced awkwardly. His face was caked with dirt and blood. He looked intent and focused, and not at all concerned about the gun Will was pointing at him. He began to navigate along the side of the pickup's bed. F, Will said, and pulled the trigger. The gun boomed. The man fell off the truck. He dropped the shotgun without thinking. Gee, it fuck. Good, said Tom. The transport's engine bellowed. Its exhaust hissed. Its wheels began to turn. Now, said Tom, help me, please. Will reached down and grasped Tom's wrists. By the time he got Tom out of the cabin, the transport was close. They jumped into deep, shadowed snow. He began to forge forward. He made it out of the shade of the pickup, and his shadow stretched out before him, long and thin and sharpening at the edges, coalescing into something vulnerable. The ground shook. There was a shriek of metal, and Will thought, it's through the railing, it's 30 feet away. And he didn't need to turn and verify this, but did anyway. The transport bounced toward the pickup and swatted it aside. The idea of running suddenly seemed very stupid to Will, because the transport was as big as a mountain. It was going to run him down, no matter what he did. Tom grabbed him by the ear. The transport hit deep snow and threw him up in a wave. Will hadn't factored in the snow. That would slow it. He realized he could survive, or could have, had he thought of this about 10 seconds ago. The truck plowed toward him, fountaining snow. It slowed and stopped. Its tires spun. Will reached out and touched his bull bar. Tom climbed to the grill and raised the shotgun. The driver was a woman, Will saw, early 40s, glasses, kind of bookish. Not the sort of person he would have expected to try to kill him with an animal truck. She looked at Tom with an expression of mild intent and reached for a pistol that lay on the dash. Tom fired through the windshield. Will looked away. In the light, the snow was diamonds, a trillion tiny diamonds. Tom dropped beside him. Move! He trudged through the snow. They didn't speak. Beyond the reach of the transport's headlights, the snow grew waist deep. Will's breath steamed. Eventually, he said, I can't keep going. Tom looked at him. There was something terrible about his face. Tom looked at the cattle yard. Then abruptly he sat. He began to dig shells out of his coat pocket and feed them into the shotgun. Will sat beside him, panting. The transport was perhaps 500 yards away, its lights blazing. He could see the hole in its windshield. Was that Wolf? Tom looked at him. What? That woman? No, Tom said. Oh. If that was Wolf, I would be weeping hot tears of joy. Oh. Your hometown, Broken Hill? Wolf did that. Not a chemical spill. Wolf. I would be dancing a jig if that was Wolf. Got it, Will said. Not Wolf, Tom said. Not Wolf. They sat in silence. Nothing moved but the wind. Did you know that woman in the transport? Yes. Why did she try to kill us? Tom didn't answer. Will shivered. I'm cold. Tom dropped the shotgun and lunged at him. Will yelped, falling backward. Tom grabbed his shirt, pulled him up, thrust him back in the snow, pulled him up again, and shoved him down. What? Will gasped. Tom grabbed a handful of snow and mashed it into Will's mouth. "You're cold?" Tom said. "You're cold?" He released Will. By the time Will sat up, Tom had resumed his position and was facing the distant truck. Will brushed snow from his face. "I'm sorry." "You need to be better than this," Tom said. "You need to be worth it." Will folded his hands beneath his armpits and looked at the sky. "So far, you're not worth crap. Okay, look, I didn't ask to be kidnapped. Saved is another way of putting it. I didn't ask to be saved. Go, then." "I'm not saying I want to go." "Leave, see how long you last." "I'm not saying that, you useless F," said Tom. "I did shoot a guy. I mean, not to overstate my contribution, but I did just effing shoot a guy," Tom exhaled. "And I pulled you out of the pickup." A deep, mumbling cold sunk into his body. He opened his mouth and gave his jaw muscle something to do. "You don't run over those people." Tom looked at him. "We could have gotten away." "You just had to run over them." "Yeah," Tom said. "Why didn't you?" Tom didn't answer. "You shot that woman, Bronte." "What? Her name was Bronte." "As in Charlotte Bronte, a poet?" "I thought they were poets." Tom didn't reply. "Okay," Will said. "I get it. That guy called you Eliot. You're Tom Eliot, right? T.S. Eliot, you're a poet?" Tom sighed. "Was. You were a poet. What are you now?" "I'm not sure," Tom said. "Ex-poet, I guess." "Why did your friends turn bad?" "They were compromised." "What does that mean?" "Wolf got to them." "What does it mean?" "She's very persuasive." "Persuasive? She's persuasive?" "I told you poets are good with words." Tom stood. Snow fell from his coat. "Time to go." "You're telling me Wolf persuaded them to try to murder us?" "As in, she said, 'Hey, how about you trap your buddy Tom Eliot in a cattle yard and try to run him down with a truck?' And they did it because she's persuasive?" "I said very persuasive. Get up." There was nothing but snow in every direction. "Where are we going?" "I had a thought," said Tom. "Maybe the plane really is here." They trudged through the blackness and snow until Will could no longer feel anything. His nerves retreated somewhere deep inside, where there was still warmth. His nose was a memory. He had not only never been this cold, he had not understood this degree of cold was possible. He began to hope poets found them, because whatever happened, at least it would be warm. He stumbled. "Aha," said Tom. "Runway." Will couldn't see him. "Let's try this way." After a few minutes, the stars began to vanish. There were noises. Tom took his arm and he found steps. At the top of those, the air was different. Warmer. Warmer. "Sit," said Tom. "Don't do anything." He sank to the floor, wrapped his arms around his legs, and pressed his face into his arms. Tom was banging around somewhere up front, flicking switches. After a while, Will began to feel alive. He raised his head. A yellow glow emanated from what he assumed was the cockpit. He massaged his feet. Could you get frostbite that quickly? Because he felt like he had frostbite, he decided to walk around to save his feet. The cockpit was a cramped nest of instruments, a single seat surrounded by dark panels. Tom was buckled in. "You can fly this?" Will said. "It's not brain surgery." "You can't even see where you're going. It's pitch black out there." "I will assume they were currently pointed in the right direction," Tom said. "And drive straight?" Will said. Tom ran his thumb across the dial and finished up on a worn black button. "I think we're good to go." "You think?" "It's been a while since I did this. You said it wasn't brain surgery." "It isn't, but the penalty for errors is high." "Maybe we should think about this." Tom waited. Will thought he was reconsidering. Then he realized Tom was watching something. He followed his gaze, but saw nothing but a night sky. One of the stars was moving. "What is that?" he said, and realized a helicopter. "Yes, go sit down." He depressed the button. Something went click. Was that supposed to happen?" Tom didn't answer, but clearly no. "Did they sabotage the plane? Do you think they—" "Will you shut the F up?" Tom murmured to himself, poring over the controls. Ahead the star grew. The ground beneath it began to twinkle. A searchlight swept snow. "It's getting closer. Get out. I'm just letting you get out of the cockpit." He groped through the darkness until he reached seats. He dropped into one and felt for the belt. Nothing happened for a while. He glanced behind him. He could make out shapes back there, something in the seats. He couldn't sit still, so he got up and made his way toward them. He found a metal suitcase on one seat, gleaming faintly in the gloom. He slid his hands around it and found clasps. He couldn't see, so he explored with his fingers. Something clinked. He felt fabric. He discovered something tubular and tried to pull it, but it wouldn't come. He pulled the case out of the seat and took it toward the front of the plane. When he was close enough to see, he peered into the case. Some of the equipment he didn't recognize. Some he did. Syringes, drill bits, in the center, its blade sheathed in plastic, lay a scalpel. When he entered the cockpit, Tom was lying on his back, buried up to his elbows in the underside of the instrument panel. Will held out the scalpel. "What is this?" "Not now, Will." "Look at this." Tom's head appeared. His expression did not change. He disappeared beneath the panel again. What were you going to do to me? He had to raise his voice over the rising thrumming of the chopper. That guy said you were going to pull my head open. That's what he said, pull my head open. And I'm starting to wonder, Tom, whether that was an expression. Will you F off? Were you going to kill me? I'll kill you now if you don't get out of here. Will moved forward with the scalpel. He wasn't going to stab Tom. He just wanted to be taken seriously. But Tom's hand flashed out and grabbed Will's wrist and twisted the scalpel from it. He tossed the scalpel into the back of the plane, looked at Will condescendingly, and climbed into the pilot's seat. Will said, You owe me an answer. We were going to do whatever was necessary. Tom flicked a row of switches. If we could get the word that destroyed Broken Hill from you without requiring us to crack open your head, terrific. We'd go that way. If not, the other. It's better than what the other side wants for you. It doesn't effing sound better. I know Wolf, Tom said. I've known her since she was a 16-year-old girl. Trust me. This is better. Sit the F down. Light burst in the windshield. Will raised his arm. The searchlight had found a plane. Beneath its gaze, the runway looked like black glass. The thrumming overhead was like thunder. Well, now I can see. Tom thumbed the black button. The engines thumped. A low whine of power began to build. Something above Will's head went thwack, thwack, thwack. The plane began to trundle forward. They're shooting at us. Are they shooting at us? Yes. They bumped forward, gaining speed. You know there's a chopper up there. I know. So even if we get off the ground, how are we going to get away from the chopper? The plane's momentum pressed at him. He seized the back of Tom's chair. He was going to regret not sitting down, but he wasn't leaving. How do we get away from the chopper, Tom? Planes are faster than choppers. Tom pulled on the yoke. They lifted off. Suicide cult claims 6, Montana. Police discovered the bodies of 6 people on an isolated ranch outside of Missoula on Tuesday, victims of an apparent suicide pact. The dead included the owner of the ranch, well-known local herder Cole McCormick, 46, and his wife Maureen McCormick, 44. Cole McCormick ran unsuccessfully for local office last November. No further details were available. Okay, before I go further, I should actually stop for a while. So I'll read more later. But thank you for listening so far. I'm sorry I got nervous or stressed. Usually I try my hardest to stay censoring words, and a word I did not mean to say came out. I didn't intend for that. Usually when I see words, I just end up saying like F or B or something, but I don't actually say the word. Or D. But I did accidentally say it. This book is, it is like often with Max Berry books, they're loaded with foul language, but I try to censor it out as best I can. And this one's, I feel like, a lot more of a serious book as compared to some of his others. It still has some satire to it, but it's a lot more like truly action suspense as compared to some of his other previous works. Anyway, I'll read more later, though. I'm sorry for slipping up. I'll read more later. Goodbye for now. And thank you for listening.